Chapter 1351 Burning Legion, Prepare for Battle. I am Tony Moody, an unknown food connoisseur. After eating your crayfish today, I've decided to write a story about you and your crayfish. May I know, would you like to cooperate with me? Tony explained with a smile. Tony was rather confident with his name. On the Demon Islands, the restaurants and delicacies would be in vogue whenever he critiqued on them. It would bring the chef and restaurant fame and money. Just as I expected, Mag said. He had guessed correctly. This demon was indeed a food critic. However, he had neither the time nor interest to accommodate his work. He nonchalantly said, "The story between me and crayfish? Could there be any special relationship between the executioner and the death roll prisoners?" Tony was stunned. This was the first time he had heard about such an innovative description. However, on second thought, the relationship between a chef who killed crayfish for a living and crayfish really resembled one between the executioner and death row prisoners. No. I just want to know why you use such an unusual method to cook crayfish. It totally subverted the usual methods of cooking seafood and made the seafood taste different. For example, the minced garlic, the 13 spice, and this spicy crayfish. How do you come up with such unique ideas? Tony shook his head as he realized Mag had skewed the question. Mag threw a glance at Tony, and calmly said, "Maybe you don't know seafood very well. All these were just normal operations." Tony choked. As a connoisseur who was known for knowing seafood the best, he was told off in public for not knowing seafood well. This was really an aggrieved feeling. Mag didn't continue to chit-chat with Tony. He placed the crayfish in the wok, and wandered in between 3 woks with a giant ladle. Although he could manage them well, he didn't have the extra room to talk to the customers. Sit down, sit down. We've to rein it in even when we're unconvinced in front of the real master chef." Steve pressed Tony down back onto his seat. He couldn't control his laughter. As longtime friends with Tony, he knew how proud the latter was of his nickname. He felt so thrilled watching him suffer a defeat, and couldn't wait to tell their common friends. Tony sat down, and complained, "He could only say that I don't know prawns well. How could he say I don't know seafood? This isn't a reasonable deduction." Before eating the crayfish, the number 1 prawn in his heart was Phi Island's king mantis shrimp. But in actuality, the crayfish were the real overlord of the prawns. But if they were talking about other seafood, he didn't believe others would know more or have tried more than him. Never mind. Geniuses all have their quirks. It will be my treat today. We've not seen each other for over a year, let's get drunk tonight. Steve slapped his back and chuckled before calling Jane over to order a few more crayfish and beer. "That's right too." Tony threw a glance at Mag. This demon with a pair of pincers on his head was indeed a genius chef. The innovative cooking methods and tastes had torn a gap in his wall of understanding toward seafood. Never mind about his bad temper, he had lost all his temper after eating this crayfish, after all. "Steve, I think you have saved my professional career again. If I really wrote about the porcupine battle boars roast pork trotters, the readers would call me a scammer after they tasted it for themselves. But, writing about the crayfish would be the classic page on my professional career," Tony said as he supported Steve, who was stumbling. "We are buddies. How can I forget about you when I have eaten good food?" The beer's alcoholic content wasn't high, but it was still much higher than that of most alcoholic drinks in this world. They would still get drunk after having too many mugs of it. Hence, those demons who were drinking beer and eating crayfish had to help each other walk away in laughter after the meal was over. Sounds of laughter reverberated throughout the alleys. Mag smiled as he watched that. As expected, everybody behaved in the same manner after they had their supper and alcohol regardless where they were. "Boss, we seem to have a situation. Why is the island on fire?" A simple wooden boat that was pieced together with big chunks of wood approached a small island slowly. Keel was standing at the head of the ship, looking out at the island. Flames were lit up on the island as if something was burning. They could even hear shouts and sounds of fighting vaguely. "It's those flaming demon bastards. They had found our hiding place. We'd already given in so much, and they still wouldn't let us off." SAHDR looked at the flames with fury on his face, and he raised his iron club that was as tall as a man above his head. The lava on his body began to redden and flow as he roared, "Burning Legion, prepare for battle!" "Whoa!" The dozens of lava demons replied at the same time, and the cracks on their bodies had lava flowing in between them. They seemed to be wearing golden red armor in the dark. The fierce fights were taking place throughout the island. Although most of the lava demons who were stationed in their territories were the old and weak, they had displayed a scary determination and tough will against the flaming demon's sudden attack. An 8th-tier flaming demon commander stood on an elevated rock. The burning flames on his body lit up his sneering face, and he shouted, "Kill them! How dare these lowly lava demons rank equally with us, flaming demons!" The flaming demons had been hunting and killing lava demons. Finally, they had located this secret base in the fog at the periphery of the demon islands. The lava demons were already very weak now. Apparently, they didn't even have a 6th-tier lava demon. The powerful existence that was once ranked amongst the top 10 demon tribes couldn't even compare to some weak tribes now, let alone to the flaming demons at their peak. Therefore, they were going to exterminate the lava demons completely tonight, and forever erase this fire-type demon race that once ranked over the flaming demons from existence. "Find the Holy Lava Order. If we found it, our tribe's status would rise to another level." That commander looked at those lava demons who were struggling very hard but had no power to resist the attack. The information was indeed correct. It was a weak tribe that didn't even have a 6th-tier member. Right at this moment, a panicked voice said behind the commander, "My lord, our ships are burnt." "Hey!" That commander was stunned. He turned his head, and saw their wooden ships docked at the harbor were engulfed in flames. What made his face go even whiter was the meteor that was hurtling toward them from the sky, dragging a long red tail behind it. Chapter 1352 Falling Stars. The lava demons who had lava flowing on their bodies stared at those flaming demons who were engulfed by flames without any fear in their eyes. They didn't even have any other unusual expressions, just like pieces of smelly and hard rock. However, the flaming demons grew angrier because such a disdainful expression was even more oppressing than sarcasm in words when they were the winning party going to erase the existence of this weak tribe from Norland continent completely. Flames began to emerge from the bodies of these flaming demons. All they needed now was an order so they could burn all the lava demons to death. Nobody would be able to save them. The lava demons obviously knew about the outcome, but their expressions didn't still change. They stood together, helping one another. Right at that moment, a young lava demon suddenly pointed at the sky, and said, "Great Elder, look! It's a meteor." All the lava demons looked up at the meteor that was hurtling toward the island while dragging a red fiery glow across the sky, and their eyes widened. "This is Falling Stars," the elderly lava demon who was clutching a walking stick and addressed as Great Elder said with a quivering voice and teary eyes. "Falling Stars," all the lava demons exclaimed, and their expressions began to get fanatic. This was one of the lava demons' long-lost combat techniques. Apparently, only an 8th-tier lava demon was able to summon a meteor to be his weapon. Which meant, someone among the lava demons had already advanced to an 8th-tier demon. Ever since the decline of the lava demons, the 6th tier had become a hurdle that was impossible for them to cross. For hundreds of years, only a rare few geniuses were able to break through 6th tier. However, a 6th tier power could only be considered as a weak tribe on the Demon Islands, so they could only continue to hide themselves on a secret island. However, they were still found by the flaming demons. But now, their reinforcements were here. And it was an 8th tier lava demon that they hadn't seen for a long time. "It has to be SAHDR and his men," some demon exclaimed, and all the lava demons began to look expectant. The flaming demons who were surrounding the lava demons went white when they saw the hurtling meteor. They had never experienced such a terrifying combat technique that could summon a meteor as a weapon. They had no idea how to react at that moment. The flaming demon commander at the top of the cliff yelled, "Kill them all, bam!" Before he could even finish speaking, a metal pole that was almost as thick as his head crash-landed on the top of his head, and smashed him into a meat pie. The flames on his body were extinguished instantly. "Boss is dead." All the flaming demons stared at a strapping lava demon that appeared on the top of the cliff. The lava that was flowing energetically on his body made him look like an active volcano. He had actually smashed an 8th-tier flaming demon to his death with his pole. SAHDR, standing where that commander had been standing previously, pointed his metal pole downward, and yelled, "Burning Legion, charge! Charge!" Dozens of lava demons with flowing lava on their bodies dashed out, and fearlessly leaped down into the flaming demons at the bottom of the mountain. At the same time, the meteor with the giant red tail crash-landed on those flaming demons who were staring at it with a fearful gaze. Boom! Boom! Meteors started to crash-land among the flaming demons, which was accompanied by sounds of explosions. The demon who was hit directly was smashed straight into the ground, and the other demons nearby were all blasted away by the intense explosion. The flaming demons, who had been very aggressive initially, fell into a panic. Numerous demons had died in the descent of the meteors. Those who survived had lost the will to fight, and were trying to escape. On the contrary, the Burning Legion's charge was extremely disciplined and impactful. They were like wolves charging into a sheep herd, and were killing those offensive flaming demons mercilessly. They tore down their line of defense, and then went to chase down and kill those demons who were escaping in a panic. The lava demons who had been surrounded at first stared at this scene with joyful tears in their eyes. They had been oppressed for years, and even the tribes that they had once perceived as weak had dared to bully them. And now, the Burning Legion had returned forcefully, and defeated those offensive flaming demons. They finally exulted. SAHDR slammed the iron rod he was holding against the ground hard as he asked that elderly lava demon, "Are you guys all right, Great Elder?" "We're fine." The Great Elder shook his head as he extended his trembling hands to touch the flowing lava on SAHDR's chest. The intense temperature made his fingers turn red, but he didn't care at all. His gaze became brighter and brighter as he said with a shocked expression, "SAHDR, you've really advanced to the 8th tier." "Yes. And I should advance to the 9th tier soon." SAHDR nodded and smiled rather confidently. "It should only take about another 1,000 Rugiamos." "Hey!" All the lava demons were befuddled. They didn't really understand the meaning of SAHDR's words. When did the disparity in power start to be measured with Rugiamos? SAHDR didn't explain further, and instead he asked the Great Elder, "I'll tell you more in the future, Great Elder, are there any problems at the lava pond?" "No problem there. They had yet to search it through." The Great Elder nodded. "Let's go over there. It's time for certain things to see the light of day again." SAHDR nodded, and strode toward the active volcano at the west side of the island. "Tell me, how should we kill her so that idiot Simmons will fight to the death with Alfred as soon as he sees him?" Mag asked in the small room on the restaurant's balcony as he looked at Charlene, who was coated by the sand into a ball, and had a ball of cloth stuffed into her mouth. "This is very simple. Strip her and toss her onto the island. Create a scene that she had died after suffering through countless humiliation. Given that idiot Simmons's intelligence and his love for this woman, he will be fighting to the death as soon as he sees Alfred," Irina said smilingly. Charlene's eyes widened with fear, and her body began to shake violently. Bam! The room's door was closed, and the small room was returned to darkness and a dead silence. "Are you going to set up the event location now?" Irina asked Mag. "We are not the main characters. We have already set up the stage for them, but without some foreplay, it would be difficult for the clash to happen as soon as they meet," Mag replied smilingly. It was about time for this big show to start. He waved his hand, and Ozzy landed silently. Chapter 1353 I don't like dead fish. This was a head that was made by the system according to Charlene and then 3D printed following 1:1 ratio. Whether it was the size or the look, it was very convincing. Even the skin was 95% realistic, and it would turn red when pinched. System, I have a bold idea. Mag looked at the head in his hands with a weird expression, and said, I think you could change your profession. This system is a god of cookery cultivation system deeply involved in the culinary world, so why should I change my profession? Look at this skill of yours. It's such a waste that you don't go make blow simulation companion dolls. If you could add in a little artificial intelligence that allows it to conduct simple interaction, that would be even better. Mag smiled. Does the host have a need for it? If you do, this system could reproduce a simulation doll of a 1:1 ratio according to this imp mother and reproduce a system with a character. Apart from not being actually alive, there are no other differences at all. It could even move on its own and have great flexibility. Ha! Do I look like I'm someone who needs such thing? Mag smirked. Based on the host's behavior after coming to this world, you do. Mag raised his eyebrows. Although the nightlife here was a little boring, at least he had a wife. He didn't expect he would be jeered by the system. He coldly replied, Shut up, you single dog one system. The griffin flew toward West Point Island, and circled above it once. After confirming there was no one present, it dived down and landed on the beach in the northeastern area. Mag leaped off the griffin's back, and dug a hole with the shovel that he brought along at the best tidal flushing point determined by the system. He measured the depth with a measuring tape before burying Charlene's head, and covered it up with sand. The tide came up and washed away the excess sand, and the beach reverted to its usual look. System, are you sure that the tide would be able to wash the head out by this time tomorrow night? Mag asked after returning to the griffin, feeling a little worried. Please rest assured, host. After strict calculation done by this system, this head will slowly reveal itself from tomorrow 5 p.m. onward. Furthermore, this system had added a catapult installation in this head. If there is a change in the situation, the host could also eject the head out from the sand remotely with a control. That's good. Mag nodded before suddenly looking toward the northwest. He patted the griffin's back, and softly said, Ozzy, we will fly close to the sea. Ozzy spread its wings and glided to the northeast, flying close to the sea's surface. It almost merged together with the dark sea, and swiftly disappeared from the vicinity of West Point Island. Shortly after Mag left, an ugly flying steed landed in the center of West Point Island. Alfred jumped down and made 2 big craters in the ground. He held a giant axe in his hand while he surveyed his surroundings warily, but relaxed a little after seeing that he was alone. He made 1 round on foot around the island to make sure there was no difference from the day that he left. What was that fellow Simmons trying to do? Alfred snarled, feeling a little frustrated. He was already very furious when the ritual was interrupted halfway. He didn't expect the stone statue to be stolen too. Moreover, this fellow Simmons still dared to issue a challenge to him so arrogantly, thinking that he would take all his power. He had overestimated himself. At first, he was still worried that this fellow would come here to set up traps in advance, but looking at it now, it didn't seem like it. This will be your burial ground tomorrow night, Simmons. And I will become the most powerful person on the Demon Islands, or even on the Norland continent, Alfred said coldly before he left on his steed. He didn't need any evil plot to deal with Simmons after absorbing half of the power of the dead. He just needed to punch him to death blow by blow. What? You're not receiving any customers today? I've never heard that succubi could refuse a customer. I will kill you if you reject me. Nobody will care about a hussy who doesn't even have a protective amulet, even if you are dead. A drunk demon kicked open the wooden door, and then slapped the succubus who was trying to stop him from coming in at the door to the floor. He grabbed her hair and tossed her onto the bed before taking off his clothes and smirked. Lowly succubi are born to be the playthings of men. What rights do you have to reject me? You should be thankful that I am willing to give you business. I may even give you 2 copper coins after you make me comfortable to let you continue living your lowly life. The succubus who was slapped stared at that demon with a swollen cheek viciously. She pursed her lips together quietly, but there was a hint of unwillingness and desperation in her eyes. Not making any sounds? I don't like dead fish. The demon raised his hand to give her another slap. Pfff. A section of a shiny blade pierced through his heart, and his action stopped immediately. He stared at the blade of a knife that was poking out of his body in disbelief. It's you opinionated animals who are the lowly ones. A cold voice appeared behind him. Before he could turn his head, the dagger was already removed, and fresh blood squirted out from his nose, mouth, and wounds. That demon clutched his heart and collapsed to the ground. He stopped breathing after twitching a few times. Sovereign of succubi. The eyes of that succubus lit up. Take your things and follow me, Angela said to that succubus lying on the bed. All right, that succubus replied, and swiftly got off the bed. She took the cloth bundle that she had packed up in advance, and even kicked that demon on her way out. The succubi's strike had caused the dissatisfaction of many demons. They needed a place to vent on a hot night like this, but the succubi who were usually welcoming their customers at the door had shut them out. The demons were not patient with a tribe that was weak and unprotected. Hence, they started to kick on the doors, and even took out their weapons in an attempt to demolish the huts. A figure with a dagger appeared in the alley. It was a succubus that was younger and more beautiful than the usual ones they saw. The demons who were full of pent-up frustrations turned around and showed their hungry expressions. Angela smirked at these demons and blinked her eyes, activating the eyes of enchantment on them. The blade flashed, slashing open the demons' throats and stabbing into their hearts. In the blink of an eye, all the demons in the alley were slaughtered. Sisters, follow me, Angela said to all the succubi who came out of their rooms with their bundles, and strode toward the harbor. One annotation text missing. However, if such incidents happened in the center of the island, and involved dozens of demons with protective amulets, that would not be a small matter. The 10 Kings Palace that was already very flustered by the theft rushed to the succubus alley as soon as they received the news. They saw the alley strewn with demons' bodies. All the demons were killed with a single strike to the heart and throat. It was a very professional method of killing. Their gazes were spaced out. They should have been killed by a succubus when they were in a mesmerized state. Moreover, they should have died in the hands of the same succubus, a vampire said after crouching down and observing for a while. The succubi in the succubus alley have all disappeared, someone reported very soon. A Shivara shouted, what are these lowly fellows thinking? Catch them all and interrogate them. Let's see if they were involved in the theft. I can smell the scent of blood. Follow me. A pair of black wings spread out behind that vampire's back, and a thin red line of light appeared in his vision. He spread his wings and lifted his body up into the air. He looked toward the harbor, and just as he was about to say something, bam! A brick flew out from nowhere, and hit that vampire right on his head. That vampire's head tilted to one side, and he crash-landed instantaneously. He fell to the ground, unconscious. Who's there? The demons from 10 Kings Palace were shocked. Someone actually dared to act in front of them. That 8th tier Shivara who was speaking earlier leaped onto the roof at the side and looked around, but he still couldn't see who did it. It had to be that bunch of sluts. Search for them, that Shivara screamed in exasperation as he ordered the demons to go search for the succubi. Boom! Right at that moment, a giant mushroom cloud appeared in the center of Carapace Island again, and the island shook once more. Damn it! It's the 10 Kings Palace. The Shivara and the other 10 Kings Palace demons' faces went dark with anger. The same explosion at the same location. Could that fellow be back again? The demons no longer cared about chasing after the succubi as they quickly converged toward the Ten Kings Palace. Angela, who had almost reached the harbor with the succubi, turned around to look at the mushroom cloud that rose up in the center of Carapace Island, and her face lit up. It seemed like they had rather good luck. The Ten Kings Palace was targeted by a mysterious expert again. She was still worried that someone would be after them at first, but now the Ten Kings Palace wouldn't have the time to bother with them anymore. You all slow down. I'll go get a boat first. Angela raised her hand to indicate to the succubi to slow down while she went to the biggest ship docked at the harbor. The sailors guarding the ship were controlled by her easily. All the succubi boarded the ship shrouded by the fog, and left Carapace Island slowly. Angela stood at the stern of the ship as she watched Carapace Island that was getting further and further away, and murmured, "It's a pity we left in such a hurry. I couldn't even say goodbye to the lady boss. I guess I have to make a trip back to Carapace Island after I get them settled in. She's still too young. She made such a small evacuation so dramatic." Irina stood on the top of a cliff and sighed as she watched the ship sail away in the fog. If it weren't for her who blew up the 5 remaining halls of the Ten Kings Palace, they might not even have been able to get away. A green light flashed and Irina disappeared from the cliff. What's going on again? Mag, who was closing in on Carapace Island on the Griffin's back, looked at the mushroom cloud that was rising up in the center of the island and the 10 completely flattened halls in a shock. Only Irina was capable of such a feat. He wondered what the Ten Kings Palace's people had done to antagonize his precious wife again. After making Ozzy avoid the Ten Kings Palace's surveillance, they landed on a cliff at the periphery of Carapace Island. Mag patted Ozzy's head, and let it go off and play by itself before dashing toward the restaurant. The second explosion had demolished all the halls in Ten Kings Palace, and completely provoked the Ten Kings Palace. Its people were interrogating and arresting suspects everywhere. Mag returned to the restaurant, and saw Irina digging a hole again. Mag walked up and took a look at the 3 half-buried demons before asking, "What's going on here again?" "They were trying to take me and little Amy away," Irina answered. "Dear, you've had a hard day. Leave this to me." Mag quickly took the shovel over from Irina, and buried the demons while they watched him with terrified eyes. "How did the people from Ten Kings Palace piss you off again?" Mag asked after they leveled the yard and went back in. "They didn't." Irina shook her head. "Didn't?" Mag was befuddled, and then asked her with a strange expression, "Then why did you demolish the Ten Kings Palace again?" "Oh. Angela left, so I set off a firework to send her off," Irina said with a relaxed expression. "Oh, I see." Mag really didn't know what else he should say. This answer sounded quite all right. "Why did she leave suddenly? I still haven't paid her salary." Mag suddenly grasped the core of matter. Angela left after only working for half a day. She had set the record as the shortest-term employee that he had ever had after opening the restaurant. "She left with her sisters, so I couldn't really stop them from going." "Forget it then." Mag nodded too. It seemed like Angela had already contacted all the succubi, and brought them away from Carapace Island. It was a good thing for her too. "How was the setup?" Irina asked. "The setup was done. Tomorrow when shepherds quarrel, let us be the wolf that has the winning game." Mag nodded with a smile. "It sounds rather interesting." Irina's eyes lit up, and she showed an enthusiastic expression. There were only small fries on Carapace Island, which was no fun at all. However, things would be different when the targets changed to Alfred and Simmons. They were the big fishes. "Crayfish, oh crayfish! The peak of my professional career is going to depend on you." Tony, who was still half drunk, couldn't sleep after he came back from the toilet. Hence, he decided to light up an oil lamp, sit in front of the desk, take out his pen and paper, and start to write his article. The delicious crayfish and beer that night had brought him boundless inspiration. That exquisite taste which he had never experienced before was even worth writing a long essay on. After calming himself down slightly, he began to write, The Making of a Legend, the King of Prawns. Chapter 1355. Maybe she simply doesn't like us. I heard Irina should be in Chaos City now, right? A pale vampire asked in a hoarse voice. I wouldn't be surprised wherever she chooses to appear. It was just like how she suddenly appeared on Carapace Island, demolished the Ten Kings Palace, and emptied the gold vault 5 years ago, an elderly spatial demon said in a low voice. All the demons' expressions became aggrieved and angry upon hearing that. But she had already emptied the vault and demolished 5 great halls earlier. Why did she come back to demolish the remaining 5 again today? Why is she so unreasonable? A fear demon commented aggrievedly, like a little girl who was bullied. The other demons were furious too. They didn't understand why the other 5 halls were demolished too. There was no other valuable stuff in the Ten Kings Palace anymore. Maybe she simply doesn't like us, a demon standing at the periphery mumbled softly. All the demons descended into a silence again. This excuse was so reasonable that they had no way to refute it. What should we do now? Irina is targeting our Ten Kings Palace again and again. She kills, burns, and robs without any regard for us, the top 10 tribes. Let's declare war on the elves, otherwise I won't be able to resolve my hatred, a Shivara said angrily. A few demon representatives agreed instantly. They couldn't stand the fact that Ten Kings Palace was demolished twice. Irina is no longer the princess of the elves now. Wouldn't we be helping her if we go and attack the elves? A vampire smirked. Furthermore, even though we all think Irina is the culprit, has anyone seen her with their own eyes? Did she leave behind any obvious evidence? If not, how could we say she has done it? That vampire continued. All the demons quieted down gradually. Now, they really had no idea how to avenge themselves. They could only continue to feel aggrieved. Since the Ten Kings Palace has already been demolished, I need to go back to report the situation to my tribe. As for whether we are going to continue to set up an office on Carapace Island, this will be decided by my tribe. A pair of black wings appeared behind the vampire. He flapped his wings and quickly disappeared on the dark horizon. Cowards! We can't depend on them. The Abyss demon spat toward the back of the vampire before speaking to the rest of the demons. We, the Abyss demons, are not going to let Irina off easily. We're going to make her pay for what she did. That's right. We, the Chivalrous, are not going to take this lying down, either. We don't care who she is. The destruction of Ten Kings Palace obviously became the most important matter on Carapace Island. However, to the majority of the demons, such matters didn't concern them at all. As long as the Ten Kings Palace's protective amulets still worked and Carapace Island hadn't sunk into the sea, the most important matter to them every day after they woke up was to earn money so they could save enough money to buy one protective amulet before the next month and continue to live a little more safely. Earning money had never been easy on Carapace Island, so survival had become a difficult task too. However, a saying "catch crayfish if you wanna get rich" began to spread on Carapace Island recently. 50 copper coins for 1 crayfish became the latest get-rich-quick shortcut for the demons on Carapace Island. Apparently, there were already demons who had earned thousands or even tens of thousands of copper coins within the 2-3 days. This was something unfathomable to the majority of the demons. Therefore, even though the Ten Kings Palace had begun to conduct a rigorous search on the island, it still didn't dampen the fishermen's enthusiasm. The beaches were crowded with demons, and everyone was looking under every rock that a crayfish could hide. Some even jumped into the sea to search for them. And Mag, who'd created this craze, was writing an announcement in his study as soon as he woke up in the morning. Are you planning to share the recipes of the crayfish? Irina, who appeared out of nowhere to stand behind Mag, asked with astonishment after she glanced at the announcement on the desk. Yes. Enjoying happiness alone is not as happy as sharing it. The demons and inhabitants on Carapace Island and the Demon Islands would not be able to enjoy the crayfish after we left. How pitiful is that? Mag nodded with a smile. You have never wanted to share any of your recipes when we were in Chaos City, Irina said suspiciously. We have to earn money in Chaos City. I'm taking that I am doing charity here. Mag smiled and put down the pen. He looked at the words that he had deliberately written with an ugly handwriting. The content was very simple. From today onward, he was going to recruit 10 apprentices and teach them how to cook crayfish. The teaching period was 3 days, and the charge was 500 copper coins. The 500 copper coins were only collected for show and to eliminate those people who wanted to register for fun. Moreover, he was still going to do a selection for these 10 apprentices. He wasn't going to take in any Tom, Dick, and Harry. According to his agreement with the system, he needed to raise the crayfish's prestige, and ensure the demons on the Demon Islands would maintain the habit of eating crayfish. Now, the crayfish's fame was already slowly spreading on Carapace Island. However, in order to maintain the popularity or increase its influence, the crayfish had to form a certain level of industrial cluster effect. Having more crayfish restaurants on Carapace Island was the simplest way. 8 a.m., which was time to purchase the crayfish in bulk again, arrived. Mag went out with the announcement, and he, too, got a shock when he saw a line hundreds of meters long. There were at least 500 demons lining up at the door. Was everybody joining in the beachcombing craze? Mag stuck the announcement on the door before purchasing the crayfish as usual. Kitar had only caught 20 crayfish last night as there were simply too many demons catching crayfish throughout the night, and he felt as if there were more demons than crayfish. He only managed to catch a few after he ventured to further locations based on his previous beachcombing experience. After receiving Mag's money, he curiously asked, "What did you write on that, boss?" "I'm illiterate, so could you please tell me about it?" Many fishermen were also looking at Mag curiously. Literate demons on Carapace Island were rare. "I intend to recruit 10 apprentices to assist me in the crayfish restaurant. Of course, I will be teaching them how to cook crayfish," Mag explained smilingly. "Will we be paid for doing this?" a demon asked. "If you are selected, you will have to pay me 500 copper coins as school fees." Mag nodded. "We still have to pay." All demons lost their interests upon hearing that. They could already buy a protective amulet with 500 copper coins. Being an apprentice here wouldn't bring money, and they still had to pay money instead. They might as well use this time to go catch crayfish, and they could easily earn 100 to 200 copper coins for a few of them. Chapter 1356 I want to be a chef too. However, if he learned how to cook crayfish, that would be a different story. That boss who also paid 50 copper coins for each of the tens of thousands crayfish every day was in fact earning tens of thousands of copper coins per day. Although the fisherman didn't know about business, he could still see who was earning more. Kitar only approached Mag after he was done collecting the crayfish from all the fishermen. As he helped Mag pour the crayfish into the big pond, he asked, "Boss, do you think I can do it? I would like to learn how to cook crayfish from you." "You?" Mag put down the crayfish's cages and sized up Kitar seriously. This young demon fisherman could be considered as one of the first crayfish catchers. He was full of zeal, and had caught way more crayfish than the normal fisherman. Mag nodded. "You can try it out if you are interested." "Really?" Kitar's eyes lit up. He was only testing the waters, and he didn't expect Mag to agree. "If you really want to learn, I hope you come here with a serious attitude." "I don't want to waste time on a demon who isn't serious," Mag said to Kitar gravely. "Yes. I will definitely learn seriously." Kitar quickly nodded. He took out his money bag, dug out 5 gold coins, and passed them to Mag solemnly. "Go home and shower first, then come back at 10 am, Mag said after keeping the gold coins. "Alrighty." Kitar nodded, but he wasn't in a hurry to leave. He helped Mag pour the rest of the prawns into the pond before leaving. His clothes were drenched by seawater, and they were full of dirt. He indeed should go home for a bath. There were 5 demons who came to ask Mag after that. He rejected 2 of them, and accepted 500 copper coins from the other 3. He told them to come back at 10 a.m. later. Boss Hades, are you really going to teach people how to cook crayfish? Ivan poked his head over from the adjacent yard. He was staring at Mag in shock. Why was Hades teaching others about such good business? Yes. Mag nodded with a smile. Seems like everyone likes the taste of crayfish, so if I teach more demons to cook crayfish, even more demons will be able to have the delicious crayfish. Ivan turned to look at the house before softly asking Mag, then can I learn too? Do you think I can do it? Mag surveyed Ivan. He had a good impression of the rock troll family of 3 from next door. However, although rock trolls were strong, they were known to be clumsy. It wasn't beneath Ivan to operate this huge wok, but whether he could reach the standards would be a problem. Although I'm not a fast learner, I am very patient. As long as you are willing to teach me, I can definitely master it, Ivan promised as he slapped his chest. Then, he turned to look at the house before saying in a hushed voice, my son and I have fallen in love with the crayfish you make, and we have started to change our shells after eating your crayfish. If I learned how to make it, my family status would increase substantially, and I could hold my head up high in front of my wife. Mag looked at Ivan, and out of pity for a poor man without any familial status, he smiled and nodded. All right. You can come over at 10 a.m. too. Alrighty. An elated expression flashed across Ivan's face before he bent down and dug around under the stone at the first pillar of the fence. He quickly retrieved a rock and broke it in half. A few glittering gold coins rolled out from within. You know, right? It's not easy to hide some personal savings. Ivan counted 5 gold coins, and placed the rest into his pocket before passing them to Mag, who had a shocked expression. I know. Mag took the money, still feeling a little amazed. This bro really was a genius. However, why was there a pathetic feeling? Ivan sighed, and meaningfully said, sigh. You're still young, boss. Remember to save more for yourself when you still have some familial status now. Mag held in his laughter as he pondered about how to answer. Hey, come in and help me hang the clothes. A frustrated voice came from the house next door. Ivan's expression fell. He waved at Mag before walking back to the house. He immediately broke into a smile as soon as he reached the door and his footsteps became lighter. Looking at Ivan's back, Mag secretly thought, why did it sometimes feel better to be single? Mag's notice attracted plenty of attention from the demons. The crayfish's superb business in these few days had attracted plenty of envy. Some demons on Carapace Island had even counted that the crayfish restaurant could earn at least 50,000 copper coins per day. That was a huge sum, and no other restaurant had earned so much before. Mag decided to put quality before quantity, so he had only accepted a total of 6 apprentices before 10 a.m. Dear, the boss next door is having a class, so I'm going over to have a look. Maybe the task of rescuing us rock trolls would befall onto me, Ivan said while he massaged Gamina's stocky leg, and observed her reaction carefully. You want to learn how to cook? Are you thinking that my turtle stew is horrible? Gamina's razor-sharp gaze landed on Ivan. Of course not. The turtle stew that dear makes is the most scrumptious food in the whole world. Ivan swiftly shook his head before gravely saying, however, I have been thinking that we have to spend 100 copper coins for 1 crayfish if we go over to Boss Mag. But if I learned how to make it, regardless if we go catch the crayfish ourselves or buy them from beachcombers, it would save us a lot of money. If we could get our tribe's people to catch the crayfish together and let me cook them, isn't it going to be very easy for our tribe to embark on our journey to revival? What you said makes sense too. Gamina showed a pondering expression. Justin, who was responsible for massaging Gamina's shoulders, poked his head over and excitedly said, Father, bring me along too. I want to be a chef too. I want to learn how to cook crayfish too. You're not allowed to go. Gamina smacked Justin before saying to Ivan, you go. Alrighty. Ivan's eyes lit up, and he quickly walked out of the house. When he reached the door, he regrettably said, if I had known Deer would have agreed so easily, I should never have used my own savings to pay the school fees. Now, not only I lost the money, I still have to think how to explain where the money came from later. Of course, the simplified version was simplified very technically. The spices that were hard to find on the Demon Islands were removed and replaced by some locally produced spices. The cooking methods were then simplified to make the cooking easier while not affecting the crayfish's taste and texture. 13 Spice Crayfish. Kitar was rather delighted to hear the team that he was assigned to. Although he could only learn one of crayfish's cooking methods, as long as he could master it, there would be customers who like it. I didn't expect I would get the spicy crayfish. My favorite is the spicy crayfish, Ivan murmured, similarly happy. The delicious spicy crayfish had already become his favorite dish. As long as he could master it, it could become the food craze of the rock troll tribe. The other demons also had an expectant look on their faces. Many of them were the customers of the crayfish restaurant. They were mesmerized by the crayfish's scrumptiousness after trying it, and they decided to try it after reading the announcement. If they could indeed master it, regardless of whether it was on Carapace Island or on another island, it would be a very valuable life skill. Mag gestured for them to quiet down before he walked to the pond. He scooped a crayfish out, and said, "All right, the teams are formed. Now, let us go to the part on how the crayfish is cooked. The first step is to clean and process the crayfish. Firstly, we have to put the crayfish that we bought into clear water and leave them there a few hours, washing, opening the back, deveining." Mag had spent quite some time on explaining how to process the crayfish alone. He even did a detailed demonstration. Ingredient processing was the beginning of a dish and the most important cornerstone. Even though it was an accelerated class, Mag didn't want to just get it over with. After all, these apprentices would be bearing his name when they ventured out in the future. He didn't want to damage his reputation. As if they could sense Mag's serious attitude, all the demon apprentices were paying serious attention too. Some even took out a notebook to take down notes. Set the processed crayfish to one side, and marinate it with some raw ginger before preparing the ingredients we need. First, let us see what ingredients the spicy crayfish need. Then, Mag began to teach them how to cook the crayfish. Chili could be obtained easily on the Demon Islands, but Sichuan peppers were rare or even non-existent. However, the spicy crayfish would lose half of its soul if Sichuan pepper was not added. Hence, he had to negotiate with the system and buy some Sichuan peppers from it before selling them to the other demons. He would then give them some Sichuan pepper seeds to cultivate on their own. As for garlic crayfish, it was much simpler. Even though the majority of the demons didn't like to eat garlic, it wasn't a rare ingredient, and was very easy to cultivate. As for the 13 spice, it was indeed the greatest problem that Mag had encountered. Obviously, he couldn't supply the 13 spice powder directly to the demons. He would be leaving after a few days, and the distance between them would make it impossible for them to form a relationship of a stable supplier and customers. Therefore, Mag had to choose dozens of the commonly seen spices from the Demon Islands and mix them according to the system's recommended amounts and his own experience into the alternate world version of 13 spice. Frankly speaking, the 13 spice that was short of certain special spices was slightly lacking in fragrance and texture, but the aroma was still considered rich, and had achieved the distinguishing feature of spicy, fresh, fragrant, and sweet. It was already very outstanding as a reformulated version of 13 spice. Mag had only taught about the cooking methods of the spicy crayfish before the lunch service started. "Did you all get it?" Mag asked Ivan and the other two demons. "My eyes got it." Ivan nodded honestly. The other two demons also scratched their heads embarrassedly. Although the boss taught in a very detailed and serious manner, they could only roughly remember the procedures. They were not confident to do it themselves. It's fine. We all have to learn cooking from watching first. You all still have 3 days. As long as you pay serious attention, you would be able to get it. Mag smiled. He looked at the time, and said, if you have nothing else to do in the afternoon, you can watch me cook crayfish at the side. The version that I've taught you is a simplified one. As for the complete version, you can watch for yourself. How much you can learn will depend on yourself. All the demons' eyes lit up upon hearing that. They all said they were free to stay on and continue learning. The lunch service was as busy as usual. As the crayfish restaurant got more and more famous, more and more demons on Carapace Island began to hear that many customers were still coming even though the crayfish were selling at 100 copper coins each. Hence, they all came because they were curious. Tony and Steve also came to the crayfish restaurant today. After pulling an all-nighter to write his manuscript, Tony slept till noon before he got up. He dragged Steve to the crayfish restaurant as soon as he woke up. He said he had to eat some more crayfish for inspiration so he could better edit his article. Steve, you may not believe me, but after writing that manuscript last night, I feel that my life has already reached its peak. I may never write another essay as good as that ever again, Tony said to Steve excitedly with a pair of dark eye circles. You should take me out for a trip when you receive your bonus for this month's manuscript. Steve chuckled. Tony patted his chest, and promised, sure. If this article becomes popular, wherever you want to go or eat, just say it. You promised. Don't blame me for going all out then. Mag wandered in between the 3 big woks, and cooked the crayfish with 3 different flavors at the same time easily. The 10 demon apprentices watched him diligently from a short distance. Their gazes began to fill with admiration, and their faces were full of awe. Justin and Gamina went to the crayfish restaurant, and just as they were about to enter, Justin saw the notice at the door. He halted, and curiously asked, Mother, look. It said you have to give 500 copper coins to register as an apprentice. Is Father hiding money behind your back again? Ha! He's dead meat. Gamina smirked coldly, and her gaze locked onto Ivan in the yard. Ivan, who was watching Mag cook the crayfish intently, suddenly shivered and looked out instinctively. He met Gamina's killer gaze head-on, and his expression instantly changed slightly. He suddenly realized something, shifted behind Mag in small steps, and whispered, Boss Hades, can I bother you with something? He didn't give the money to Mr. Hades. Gamina glanced at Ivan suspiciously. What are you talking about, dear? Do I look like someone who has a huge sum of 500 copper coins? Ivan slapped his chest with an honest expression. Because he used too much force, a gold coin fell out accidentally. The gold coin glared under the sunlight as it drew a perfect parabola. It landed in front of Gamina and spun on the ground. Ivan's expression and body froze at that very instant. His fear gradually turned worse as he stared at that gold coin which was still spinning. Mag was a little taken aback too. He gave Ivan a piteous look. It seemed like this bro could only pray for help now. And no. Dear, listen to me. Ivan attempted to struggle. Bam! Gamina stamped that gold coin into the rock with her foot before she turned and walked toward the house. A cold voice could be heard next. Don't come home before you master cooking crayfish. Do you think I still have half of my life? Ivan tentatively asked Mag. That would depend on whether you could master it. Mag tried his best not to laugh. Such is life. She was such an innocent and adorable young maiden then. How did she become a shrew? Ivan sighed. Life was indeed unpredictable. The first day, Mag didn't let the demons try their hands on cooking. After all, a crayfish cost 500 copper coins each. He would be losing money if they tried their hands on too many of them. Hence, he only let them do the most basic cleaning tasks as they couldn't even reach Mag's standards for deveining. All right, that's all for today's lesson. If you want to try your hands on cooking tomorrow, you could buy your own crayfish or try out your luck at the beach tonight to look for tomorrow's cooking ingredients. Mag smiled at all of them in the evening. Although all the demons were a little startled, they didn't comment once they thought about the cost of a crayfish. 500 copper coins wouldn't last them more than a few trials. Boss, could you please draw me a blueprint of this wok? I would like to get a blacksmith to make an identical one for me so I could practice at home, Kitar asked Mag only after all the others had left. Of course. Mag nodded. He got some pen and paper, and swiftly drew a wok's blueprint for Kitar. This young fisherman indeed had a great zeal. He tried to do all the work and asked questions whenever he didn't understand. He could be considered as an excellent apprentice. Thank you, boss. Kitar kept the blueprint gravely before bidding farewell to Mag, and left with great enthusiasm. He felt he had learned a lot today, and needed to go home to digest everything properly. He had to go and catch some crayfish tonight too. Because the demons from Ten Kings Palace who came to investigate the crayfish restaurant were all buried, it was all peace and quiet in the restaurant while the storm raged on outside. That night, Mag closed the doors in advance with the excuse that the crayfish were sold out. Amy, I need to go out with your mother for an errand tonight. Is it fine that ugly duckling and you stay home and watch Tom and Jerry? Mag took out a tablet and tapped on the screen. It started to play the first episode of Tom and Jerry. Whoa, there are a bluish-gray big cat and a little brown mouse hiding in here. Amy stared at the screen curiously. Meow. Ugly Duckling also came up enthusiastically and huddled in Amy's arms as if it had seen its own kind. Let's go. I think they could watch this for the whole night. Mag tilted his head to look at Irina. Haha. That cat is so stupid. It's even more stupid than Ugly Duckling. Irina was already crouching next to Amy and laughing away. Mag. It was indeed an existence that was popular with all ages. Mag sighed and dragged Irina away from the tablet after she was done watching the first episode. How did you stuff the cat and mouse into such a small thing? Irina asked Mag curiously while they were on Ozzy's back. They're just images, and not a real cat and mouse. Mag shook his head with a smile. This was the new toy that he bought from the system for 10,000 copper coins, Tom and Jerry limited edition tablet. Although it could only be used to watch Tom and Jerry, it was a cartoon that had over 100 episodes, and could be repeated in an endless loop from any episode. Furthermore, one wouldn't be sick of it, so it was an excellent toy to entertain children. Is it all right to leave Amy alone in the restaurant? Irina turned around to look at Carapace Island. It's fine. I've done some arrangements in the restaurant. Mag nodded. The restaurant's automatic defenses level had already reached 9th tier, and Amy just had to stay home and watch cartoons. Moreover, there were no 10th tier powerhouses on Carapace Island now. Irina didn't ask further after hearing that. She knew very well that Mag loved Amy more than she did, and wouldn't place her in danger. Moreover, the matter they had to do tonight was very dangerous, so it was really not convenient to bring Amy along. The Griffin burst through the clouds, and flew at a high altitude toward West Point Island. Meanwhile, Alfred was on a ship making his way to West Point Island. There were only one crew member at the stern and a giant porcupine battle boar in the middle of the ship. Simmons, this fellow, had better bring the stone statue along. Otherwise, I will get back the statue even if I have to bathe the flaming tribe in blood. Alfred said as he clenched his fists. Scary black lines began to appear on his face, and his eyes became blood red. The abyss demon who was steering the ship at the back was looking at Alfred fearfully. The chief looked a little different today. He made him scared and fearful. On the other side, Simmons was sitting on a flamingo bird with a dark expression. The raging flames on both their bodies made half of the sky red. Even though Alfred is known to be lecherous and brutal, why does he want to lure me here? Both the abyss demons and flaming demons want to restart the racial war, so what is he planning to do? Simmons murmured. After some pondering, a frustrated expression appeared on Simmons' face. Charlene had better be all right, or else I'm not letting him off today. The flamingo bird quickly approached the sky of West Point Island from the northeast. Its speed and altitude decreased rapidly at the same time. Oh! They've arrived earlier than expected. Seems like I've got to activate the ejection system, Mag lamented before taking a controller out from his pocket. He looked at Alfred, who was sitting on the porcupine battle boar in the center of the island, and the flamingo bird near the beach before pressing on the nuclear button. Chapter 1359. Could this be the long-lost Buddha's wrath? The visibility on West Point Island wasn't high in the foggy night. Simmons only sensed something flying toward him, and he reached out to grab it instinctively. Just as he was about to jeer at Alfred's awkward sneak attack, he suddenly realized he was holding onto a head. Fresh red blood flowed down from the head, and he could see the head's features clearly with the flame's glow. The thin lips, seductive eyes, and the hopeless and desperate expression. Wasn't this his favorite concubine, Charlene? Charlene! Simmons roared furiously as he stared at that face with a hopeless expression from before her death. He could imagine what kind of torture and mistreatment she had endured before her death. He initially thought Alfred wouldn't mistreat Charlene because of him and the flaming demons. He didn't expect he would go to this extreme end. Alfred, I'm going to tear you into pieces. Flames rose up in Simmons' hands, and turned that head into ashes instantly, while his figure suddenly became a few meters taller. He had transformed into a 4 meters tall flaming giant surrounded by burning red flames. His gaze locked onto Alfred and the porcupine battle boar in the center of the island. He dived downward on the flamingo bird like a meteor on fire. Meanwhile, Alfred was staring at half of the stone statue that was shattered into pieces in front of him in a daze. The black stone statue had obviously lost all its power, and the remaining half of the power of the dead was missing. How dare you steal my power of the dead, Simmons? I'm going to kill you today, and then eat you up to get that remaining half of the power of the dead back. Alfred snapped his head up and locked his red gaze onto the flamingo bird that was diving down. He used the side of his axe to slap the porcupine battle boar's butt, and that 3-meter-tall and 10-meter-long giant porcupine battle boar started to run. The whole West Point Island began to tremble as if it was going to sink into the sea anytime soon. The flamingo that dived downward along with flames and the porcupine battle boar that was as heavy as the abyss clashed. The flamingo opened its mouth and spat out a red flame, which burned out the trench on the ground. Even the rocks were turned into ashes. The thick barbs on the porcupine battle boar's neck were shot like crossbow arrows as it dashed forward, and they rained down on the flamingo. The porcupine battle boar ran into the area covered by the flames. Its pace slowed down obviously as its feet were melted in the melting red lava. White steam and a burning stench also emerged from its body. As the flamingo was diving downward, it couldn't maneuver itself away from the thick spikes after spitting out the flames. It was pierced by multiple spikes instantaneously, and fell down from the sky. Simmons took the opportunity to jump from the flamingo's back. He had 3 fireballs of gold, red, and purple in his hands. He suddenly brought them together, and the 3 fireballs merged together mysteriously to form a tricolor lotus flower. He pointed it toward Alfred, who had similarly jumped off the porcupine battle boar. The tricolor lotus flew out and instantly appeared right in front of Alfred. Boom! A loud explosion was accompanied by tricolored flames, and West Point Island obviously sank a little into the sea. Everything around it was returned to nothing. Could this be the long-lost Buddha's wrath? Mag, who brokered this battle, mumbled in disbelief as he watched from the sky with a telescope. Is he dead? Irina was also holding a high-power telescope. Surprised, she then commented, however, that fellow Simmons' power has indeed increased a little. I remembered he could only bring 2 fireballs together when I saw him previously. He could actually use 3 now. Charlene, I have killed this fellow and avenged you, Simmons said melancholically as he hovered in midair and looked downward with flames on his body. Ha! You tried to kill me with such a simple trick, Simmons? Although you have absorbed the other half of the power of the dead, it seems like you weren't recognized by the master. A chilling voice appeared from below. The flames and smoke dissipated slowly, and Alfred, whose arm was raised across his chest, also appeared in their vision. Whiffs of black ghost's aura circulating around him like ribbons. They had removed most of the offensive power earlier. Although his clothes were in tatters, there were no obvious injuries on his body. He's still alive. Mag cocked an eyebrow. Even though he had already expected Alfred, who had made a deal with the devil, would be stronger, he actually didn't suffer any serious injuries under such an intense attack. His strength surprised Mag. How is this possible? Simmons was equally shocked. This was already his most powerful attack. Although Alfred was strong, he couldn't have withstood his attack so easily. Now, it's my turn. A red gleam flashed in Alfred's red eyes. The huge black axe was lifted slowly, and the black ghost's aura immediately twirled around it. It formed a gigantic black skull on top of that huge axe. Alfred, did you sell yourself to the devil? Simmons exclaimed as he was suddenly reminded of something when he looked at that black skull. It's too late to act dumb now. I am going to kill you and then eat you up, Alfred said coldly before swinging his axe downward. A black circular blade began to slash toward Simmons in midair. That gigantic black skull instantly dispersed into countless little black skulls, and rushed toward Simmons in a cluster following the circular blade. You will be the enemy of this entire world when you make a deal with the devil. Simmons roared as he backed off rapidly. At the same time, he took off the fire beads bracelet on his wrist and scattered them. 10 fire beads formed a line, and then went straight toward that eerie blade of light before exploding one by one. Golden flames began to explode into dazzling fireworks. After 10 loud explosions, the black circular blade that was only 1/3 of its original size went through the firewall in front of Simmons and landed on him. It chopped off his right arm instantly. No! Simmons cried out in pain, and retreated dozens of meters backward. He looked at his severed arm, and a cluster of black aura was already rapidly climbing up toward his shoulder from the wound. Damn! Simmons' face went white. He hesitated briefly before chopping off the remaining half of his arm himself, and burned the wound with flames. He charred the flesh to stop the bleeding. And just when he had completed this series of moves, Alfred had appeared behind him out of nowhere. He lifted the giant axe above his head and smirked. Go to hell! Simmons' face paled, but it soon became determined. He punched himself in his heart, and his blood began to rush throughout his body like erupting lava. He furiously said, I'm going to take you along with me even if I die. Self-detonation? Ha, you're not going to have that chance. Alfred smirked, and his axe swung down without any hesitation. Right now, holy light! Mag, who had been watching a good show, suddenly shouted. The black fog that was shrouding him and the giant axe was extinguished instantly. It retreated back into his body like a tide, and let out a few excruciating screams. Alfred's actions halted obviously for an instant, and there was a pained expression on his face. And right at this time, the blood that had been accelerating throughout his body finally reached the self-detonation point. He lost control and exploded while staring at the holy light with a shocked gaze. Boom! This loud explosion was far bigger than any of his previous attacks. Even the power of that tricolored fire lotus wasn't its match. Simmons' body was splintered into bits and pieces instantly by the explosion. The raging flames and shock waves shrouded Alfred, who was in shock and right next to him. The entire West Point Island had finally collapsed completely in this explosion after withstanding so many of them. It sank into the sea gradually, and the explosion's shock waves shattered the ship that was docked at the other end of the island. At the same time, it also shattered that terrified abyss demon. Ozzy, it's our turn now. Mag unsheathed his long sword and gently patted Ozzy's back. Howl! Ozzy let out a happy cry and transformed into a purple lightning. It dashed down toward the center of the explosion, which was still covered in flames. A purple light shield came up and protected Mag and Irina on its back when it dived headlong into the flames and dust. Cough! A weak coughing sound could be heard, and Ozzy flew in that direction alertly. It spread its wings, and the surrounding flames and dust were pushed to the sides. Alfred, who was struggling as he leaned on a giant rock that was exposed in the sea, was revealed. Alfred, who had looked so high and mighty earlier, had lost a leg and was charred all over. He looked pathetic as there wasn't any intact skin on him. He suddenly looked at the griffin and Mag and Irina who were sitting on its back. He threw out a mouthful of blood with a shocked and angry expression, and said, "Alex! Irina! Why are you two here?" The holy light that suddenly appeared had actually caused his power of the dead to lose its effect momentarily, and he had faltered at that instant when he could have stopped Simmons from self-detonating. He had taken the impact of Simmons' self-detonation without any preparation, and he barely survived relying on his thick hide and armor. He should have thought that it was Irina as soon as he encountered the holy light. However, he simply couldn't fathom how Irina and Alex, who were supposed to be in Chaos City, suddenly appeared here. Well, we can't say it's a coincidence. After all, we set this up today. Since you guys have had enough interaction, we should come out to do an ending and finish this good show. Furthermore, you should have expected this when you did that to me then. Mag smiled. He sounded like a villain speaking like this. You two stole the stone statue. Alfred's face tightened with anger as he suddenly realized his fight with Simmons was in fact Alex and Irina's plot. Only a fellow like you would make a deal with the devil. Do you think we will need that thing? Irina said to Alfred coldly as she raised the magic caster's staff in her right hand. Alfred, you abyss demons had committed unforgivable crimes against us elves when the demons invaded Wind Forest then, and you guys have harmed and enslaved countless wandering elves in the last 100 years. Today, I shall judge you on behalf of God of Life and purify your dirty soul and body. Irina, you have been chased out of the Wind Forest, and your name was erased by the elves. You're no longer princess of the elves. What right do you have to judge me? If you kill me, the abyss demons are not going to let the two of you off. Alfred shouted furiously. His serious injuries rendered him completely unable to move and evade. Whiffs of the black ghost's aura rushed out from his body and into those wounds, trying to repair his body as quickly as possible. Holy light, that evil seems to be worth a fight. I order you in the name of the God of Light. Purify his soul and exile his body forever. Irina raised the magic caster's staff above her head and chanted with a holy and solemn expression. The dazzling holy light converged at the tip of the magic caster's staff, and then shone onto Alfred's body. No, accompanied by Alfred's screams, the black ghost's aura quickly dissipated under the holy light's purification, and Alfred's body began to disintegrate under the glare of the holy light. The terrifying screams reverberated throughout the entire territory. The pain of purifying the body with holy light was worse than the so-called death by 1,000 cuts. 3 short minutes later, the holy light was retrieved, and only a charred skin of Alfred was left on that giant rock. Justice may come late, but it will never be absent. Irina kept her magic caster's staff slowly as she looked at Alfred's skin. 2 names were struck off from Irina's must-kill list together at once. Mag softly said to Irina, "They're both dead. Let's go." Irina nodded. She waved her hand, and a green-colored wind blew across the tattered skin that Alfred had left behind, erasing any traces that might hint at the holy light's presence. Ozzy spread its wings and flew close to the sea's surface for some distance before it suddenly took off and dashed into the clouds. The intense fight that broke out on West Point Island swiftly attracted the attention from the nearby islands. The Abyss Demons and Flaming Demons were rather close to West Point Island, so both groups reached West Point Island almost at the same time. All the demons were shocked to see the sunken West Point Island. Even though West Point Island wasn't big, it was an island that had existed for tens of thousands of years. How could it have sunk so easily? Very soon, an abyss demon discovered the charred skin that was hanging on the rock, and exclaimed in a shaky voice, This is the chief's aura. The chief is dead. All the abyss demons' faces went dark with anger. This was a huge matter for the abyss demons. How did their powerful chief die here? He didn't even leave behind a complete body. The flaming demons were shocked to hear that the abyss demons' chief was dead. Who dared to kill the abyss demons' chief in their territory? This was the internal fire that would only be produced when we flaming demons self-detonated. That loud explosion earlier, a slightly older flaming demon said in a grave voice. Isn't this the chief's tablet? A flaming demon picked up a fiery red order tablet's fragment on a rock that protruded out from the seawater. It even lit up with flame when it was picked up. Could it be our chief who has self-detonated? A flaming demon exclaimed. The entire area suddenly descended into a silence. One annotation text missing. Chapter 1361. Your father said he's going to wash our feet for us today. Even though both the abyss demons and the flaming demons were pro-war tribes, and had some small conflicts due to their proximity, their overall relationship wasn't too bad, as they were both powerful tribes. So why did Alfred and Simmons decide to have a duel here, and why did both of them end up dead? Their chief's death was an earth-shattering matter for both tribes. The flaming demons killed our chief. Let's kill them to avenge our chief, someone among the abyss demons shouted. The two groups who were in a standoff were ignited instantly. They shouted and ran toward one another. Flames began to burn on the sea's surface amidst the deafening shouts and roars. The battle ended 30 minutes later, and bodies of the demons were strewn all over the sea's surface. Only a few of them escaped with injuries. That night, nobody slept on Abyss Island and Flaming Island. On the other hand, Mag and Irina, who'd caused all this, returned to the crayfish restaurant. He was still betting with Irina on their way back that Amy and Ugly Duckling were still watching Tom and Jerry. The one who lost would wash the other person's feet that night. In the end, they found Amy and Ugly Duckling searching for something amid all the spare parts. Did you find them, Ugly Duckling? Where have they gone? We saw them in the little box earlier, Amy said anxiously as she crouched on the floor and knocked on the tablet's screen. Meow, meow. Ugly Duckling shook its head as it searched through the spare parts that were taken apart violently with its paws. Seems like I've won. Irina smiled and locked her mirthful gaze on Meg. He had never washed her feet for her before. Little Amy, what are you? Meg looked at those spare parts helplessly. Judging from their conversation, Amy and Ugly Duckling had taken apart the tablet in order to release Tom and Jerry. What a loving idea, he couldn't really reprimand them. Father, Mother. You two are back. Amy got up from the floor as soon as she heard their voices, and threw herself at them. What's going on here, little Amy? Why did you two take the tablet apart? Mag asked with a severe expression as he picked Amy up. I think it's sad that they could only play inside such a small box. I want to release them out of there so we all play together, Amy said with a naive expression. But she soon disappointedly said, however, they disappeared after I took the box apart. They seem to be hiding somewhere. Maybe they didn't want to play with Amy. Mag's heart softened when he saw Amy's aggrieved expression, so he shook his head and smiled. Of course not. Because they aren't really hiding in this box. Those were only their images. Hence, you cannot find them even if you take the box apart. Images. Amy was a little perplexed. That means someone recorded what they've seen with video. In that way, that image could be preserved forever. We could see the images that others recorded through this box, so that cat and mouse weren't in the box. In fact, they were in a very far away place, Mag explained with a smile. He didn't want to tell Amy this was a cartoon that didn't exist in real life. Oh, I see. Amy nodded as if she understood. Even though she couldn't completely understand her father's words, she understood that the cat and mouse weren't in the box. She turned and looked at the tablet that was split into pieces by her, and her expression became self-reproachful and uneasy. She grasped her clothes with her hand and stole a look at Mag as she softly said, "But ugly duckling, and I destroyed it." "It's fine. Father knows little Amy didn't do it on purpose. Just don't take things apart again in the future." Mag couldn't bear to lecture Amy after seeing her self-reproachful expression. He shook his head with a smile before putting Amy down, and walking toward those spare parts. The tablet that was taken apart by force was already beyond repair. He gathered the bigger parts together, and dumped them into the trash can before clicking on the robot vacuum. The circular robot vacuum quickly moved over, scanned the rubbish, and then cleared it all away. "Then, can we ever see that cat and mouse again?" Amy asked Mag. "There you go." Mag took out another tablet that the system just delivered from a shelf, and passed it to Amy with a smile. "Whoa! There's another one." Amy's eyes lit up, and she accepted it with both her hands. "Don't take it apart again this time," Mag said smilingly. He only let go after Amy nodded gravely. "Let's go, little Amy. Your father said he's going to wash our feet tonight. Let's watch Tom and Jerry while we get our feet washed." Irina went up to pick up Amy, and then threw a glance at Mag. "It's time to go boil water." "All right," Mag nodded sheepishly. What else could he do except accept his defeat? He'd never expected Amy to take the tablet apart. Mag filled up 2 wooden basins with hot water before dripping a few drops of rose essential oil into them. After some thought, he took a rose from a vase at the side, and scattered petals into the water before bringing the basins into the room. Irina and Amy were sitting on a big and small chair, respectively. Ugly Duckling was huddled in Amy's arms with only its head poking out. They were watching Tom and Jerry intently, and laughing out loud every now and then. Mag's gaze landed on Irina's feet. She'd already removed her shoes, and a pair of fair and long legs was revealed. No excess impurities were found on the fair and round toes, the slender and slightly curved arch, and the round and adorable heels. They looked like white lotus flowers that had just blossomed, clean and beautiful. These were a pair of feet that resembled a work of art. Mag's eyes lit up. Even though he didn't have a foot fetish, he could appreciate a pair of beautiful feet. "Here comes the water." Mag came in with 1 big and 1 small basin, and placed them next to Irina's and Amy's feet. "Didn't you say you're going to wash my feet for me?" Irina smilingly asked as she lifted a foot up, and shifted her gaze from the screen to Mag's face. "I want to wash my feet too." Amy also lifted her smooth and round feet up, and looked at Mag smilingly. "All right. I will be a hard-working feet washer today." Mag looked at the 2 pairs of feet in front of him and smiled helplessly. He shifted the wooden basins under their feet before placing them into the basins gently. Then, he took a small stool from the side and sat down in front of them. "I didn't expect he's also quite good at washing feet apart from cooking. Seems like I have to let him massage my feet more in the future." Irina gazed at Mag as some tender feelings rippled through her heart. The hands that were holding her feet were so gentle and strong, and almost hotter than water temperature. They felt numb and electrifying when they caressed her skin. It made her want to escape and yet immersed in it. "All right. Let's add in some more hot water and soak for a while longer." After massaging her feet for some time, Mag released them and lifted them out of the water gently before adding in some more hot water to maintain the water temperature at a comfortable and soothing temperature. "Is it over?" Irina regained her wits from the relaxation. Her whole body felt relaxed after she placed her feet in the warm water. It felt even more comfortable than being caressed by the life magic. "Little Amy, it's time to wash your feet now." Mag held Amy's little feet, which were about twice or thrice as long as his thumbs. They were soft and fair and not suitable for massaging. Hence, after cleaning them, he let her feet soak in the water again comfortably. The scent of roses filled the room while the family of 3 and a cat huddled together, watching Tom and Jerry and laughing away. If the Bartoli family doesn't want to lose another son, they'd better stop trying to make me marry again. Otherwise, I will use my own methods to stop this matrimonial alliance," Camilla said in a cold and determined voice to a tall and thin vampire sitting on a platform while standing in the middle of a dark castle's hall. The wall lamps were flickering with red light, and wind was blowing in through the small windows. They were as eerie as the blood in the crystal wine glass that the vampire sitting on the platform was swirling in his hand. The vampire stopped swirling his wine glass, and fixed his blue eyes on Camilla. "Apologetic," he said, "Camilla, you know the Bartoli is the most powerful family in the vampire tribe. They even have an ancestor in their clan. If you refused to marry Noke, the Bartoli family would join the pro-war faction, and the vampire tribe would fall apart. We wouldn't be able to keep our status as part of the top 10 clans. So, you want to make me marry again so you could maintain your laughable face and status? Ha, father, have you forgotten about the promise that you made when you forced me to marry Noxus then? Apart from being a tool for making matrimonial alliances, what am I to you?" Camilla said with a sarcastic expression to her father, the chief of the vampire tribe, Maynard. An unnatural expression flashed across the face of Maynard. After a moment of silence, he continued, "You know both Noxus and Noke fancied you then. Noxus had died accidentally, and Noke is already the sole heir of the Bartoli family. You will receive the support of both the Bartolis and our family if you marry him. Perhaps you will even become the first queen regnant of the vampire clan. So, I will become a queen through the deaths of my husbands." Camilla's expression became more and more sarcastic. "You know, sometimes we have to sacrifice something before we can achieve what we want. I don't want to be sacrificed twice." A pair of wings appeared behind Camilla's back. She spread them and flew toward the doors of the hall. Maynard raised his hand, and a dark light screen appeared at the entrance of the hall. Camilla crashed into it, but was rebounded backward. "I'm sorry, Camilla. I have to do this for the family." Maynard's voice suddenly appeared behind Camilla as he slapped her neck. Camilla collapsed to the floor slowly with her eyes wide open. "Inform the Bartoli family, Camilla's back. Tell them to show their sincerity to marry her," Maynard said to the exterior of the hall as he carried Camilla in his arms. "We found it." In the midst of fiery red lava, SAHDR's eyes lit up as he looked at the long amulet floating in the deeper part of the lava. An area of vacuum surrounded the tablet like a bubble, and insulated the amulet from the lava. SAHDR dived in, and swam toward that amulet quickly. The temperature of the lava in the deep part of the volcano was enough to melt steel. SAHDR's clothes long turned into ashes, and the lava on the surface of his body flowed about crazily. His body had also turned red. SAHDR, whose power was close to the 9th tier, also felt his body being pushed to its limit. However, that holy lava order was within reach, and he should be the lava demon that got the closest to it in centuries. A gleam flashed across his eyes, and the lava on his body's surface quickened its flow again while he reached into the bubble without any hesitation to grab that amulet. That was a golden tablet which was about 50 centimeters long, narrow, and triangular in shape. It was engraved with complicated runes, and there was the symbol of the lava demons at the top. SHHH. SAHDR grasped the tablet. It looked cold, but he felt a horribly high temperature that shook his soul instantly. The tablet in his hand caused smoke to emit from his palm, whereas the lava didn't even hurt him at all. He hadn't felt the pain of being burned for a long time. The pain that came from his palm and fingers felt as if they were melting. But SAHDR didn't let go, and instead he grabbed that amulet even tighter. The Holy Lava Order was one of the lava demon's 3 holy objects. The other 2 holy objects were already lost, and the Holy Lava Order was the lava demon's only hope for resurgence. SAHDR clearly knew that even though he was already close to 9th tier, the lava demons were still a very weak tribe on the Demon Islands. He had to let the Holy Lava Order reappear in this world so it could remove the seals and restrictions on them. The burning pain continued for an unknown period of time, and even a tough guy like SAHDR felt as if a hole was being burned through his soul. And right at that instant, a cold sensation was transmitted out from that Holy Lava Order, and spread throughout SAHDR's body from his arms. All the burning hot sensation disappeared immediately, and SAHDR, who was in the lava, felt a comfortable sensation as if he was soaking in warm water. This is... SAHDR stared at the holy lava order that was glowing in his hands in shock. Suddenly, a golden light flew out from that holy lava order, and went in between his eyes. His gaze became vacant instantly, as if his soul was sucked into a mysterious place. A mysterious bubble enveloped him. At the same time, the bottom of the volcano, which was relatively calm before, suddenly trembled violently. Red lava spewed out from the ground continuously and rushed toward the crater. Hail the King of Lava! All the lava demons were also staring at the rising lava with glistening eyes. They knelt down on one knee, and exclaimed as they watched SAHDR walk over on the lava with the holy lava order in his hand. From today onward, the lava demon tribe will be renamed Burning Legion. SAHDR held the holy lava order above his head, and a red fire rose up. Droplets of golden red lava dripped from the flames, and drifted toward the lava demons that were kneeling on the ground. The lava went in between their eyes, and turned into a flame symbol that looked like a W. As if their shackles were removed, burning hot lava began to flow all over their bodies, and they felt a sense of exhilaration that they had never felt before. Burning Legion! Burning Legion! Burning Legion! All the lava demons stood up, and their cries reverberated throughout the whole island. The news of Alfred and Simmons perishing together had spread like wildfire and shook up the demon islands. The chiefs of 2 of the top 10 tribes had actually perished at the same time. Regardless of whether they were murdered or they had really killed each other, such an event had never happened in the past 100 years. The shock that it had brought upon was even greater than that of the murder of the spatial demon patriarch. Meanwhile, the abyss demons and the flaming demons had already entered into a battle-ready state. Both parties began to amass their people after the small-scale battle on West Point Island. They were prepared to escalate their conflict. A horrifying storm was brewing right now. If the abyss demons and the flaming demons started a battle among themselves just before the peace negotiation was about to start, the demons' stance in the negotiation could possibly change. Both the abyss demons and the flaming demons were fanatic warmongers. They were trying to start a racial war as they hoped to gain a leadership position in the midst of the war. Many demons on the demon islands couldn't sleep tonight. After washing up, Mag lay back on his bed and closed his eyes. He began to check for the reward he received after killing Alfred. First of all was the title of Guardian of the Base. Mag had no idea what was that for. It probably was similar to the Good Person card. What Mag was the most interested in was the chance to ask one classified question. System, how do I use this chance? Can I ask about anything? For example, are you my biological child? Mag asked with raised eyebrows. Although the host is my father, I am definitely not the host's biological child, the system said gravely. Oh, I see. That's okay, as long as you call me Daddy. Mag nodded. No, no. The host is not this system's father, and this system is not the child of the host. This system simply exists because of the host's appearance, the system corrected with exasperation. You see, isn't the conclusion that the chicken comes before the egg? From the angle of cause and effect, I'm still your father. Mag smiled. The debate of whether the chicken or the egg comes first is still inconclusive today. If you're using this as the judgment, from a certain theoretical angle, this system could be the host's father. Ha, there will be no you without me. But without you, I am still me. So, system, do you think you are the father or the son? Mag smirked. Father, the system blurted out. Good boy. Mag nodded with satisfaction. All right, let's talk about this classified question. What kind of questions are considered as a classified question? Mag asked. Secrets that are hidden from the world's cognition and not known by the majority of the people are considered as classified. Once these secrets are exposed, they could have some unpredictable influence on this world. Hence, they were not revealed to the host, and this system is open to certain limits, the system answered. Mag sunk in thought. Humans had their secrets, so it wasn't unusual that this world had secrets that nobody knew about. Many secrets were even hidden and locked away by all the species. The host has killed the destroyer of the base, Alfred, and received the title of Guardian of the Base and a chance to ask a question about classified matters. The host will have the one rare chance to obtain the answer from the secret vault, so please treasure this chance. So, this means that it could be a secret that even you have no access to. Yes. Mag was deep in thought after he got the affirmation from the system. Although he had tried to obtain as much knowledge as he could about this world from numerous classics and history books for the past 6 months, he still had many doubts about this world. For example, what was the Norland continent like before the racial war broke out? Why did Lantis sink into the sea? Why were there no records of it in the history books? What was the agreement that Alfred had entered into with the devil? Questions were flashing across his mind. Questions that he wanted to know but had nowhere to find the answers to. I want to know this: what kind of existence is the skeleton man that had pulled me into the stone statue's space? Mag finally chose this question after he struggled for a while. That weird stone statue, the black fog that kept appearing in the Wind Forest and Demon Islands, and the skeleton man that appeared in the stone statue's space all made Mag feel uneasy. The fear of the unknown made him a little uncomfortable. That is not dead which can eternal lie. And with strange eons even death may die. Accompanied by the sounds of an old typewriter, a line of black words appeared in Mag's mind. Mag murmured softly with tightly furrowed brows. These 2 phrases sounded a little familiar. The sounds of the typewriter faltered, and the line of words began to disappear. I remembered it. These 2 phrases came from Abdul al-Hazred's Necronomicon. Mag's eyes lit up as he suddenly recalled where the 2 phrases came from. However, staring at the words that had completely disappeared, he said with a frown again, but, what did they have to do with the question? The secret vault didn't give him any other answers. That's all? System, are you lying to your father? Mag was stunned. He felt as if he was fooled. He had to rack his brains and design a series of operations before he could kill Alfred successfully. In the end, all he got was 2 bizarre phrases that had even come from a book on Earth. The secret vault is locked once more, and the host doesn't have the permission to ask again, the system replied. Mag had read Necronomicon in H.P. Lovecraft's novel. Someone introduced the Cthulhu mythos to him, so he borrowed an H.P. Lovecraft collection from the library. However, he didn't really like the Western horror genre, so he simply flipped through a few short stories and the illustrations before returning the book. Although, given his memory, he could only remember certain snippets, he remembered those 2 phrases very well. Because Mag didn't study the Cthulhu mythos in depth, he didn't understand the system of Cthulhu mythos very well. However, he knew that the Great Old Ones had a very important status in the whole system. He could roughly remember they were gods that had survived from the ancient times. Could that skeleton man be a Great Old One, a god that had survived from the ancient times? Mag murmured. Given his understanding of the Cthulhu system, that was all he could pass judgment on now. The unknown mysterious existence and the eerie black fog could bestow a massive power to others and use the power of the dead to control everything. All this didn't seem to be matters that could be achieved by 10th-tier powerhouses. The mysterious skeleton man in the stone statue should be above 10th tier. That existence that was known as an extraordinary realm of power had never been proven to exist in this world. Seems like I will have to read up more on it. H.P. Lovecraft, who wrote I Am Providence, might really know something special. Mag pondered before saying to the system, System, give me a set of all the books which related to the Cthulhu mythos system. Host, this system based on the publisher's pricing, I'll pay 1 copper coin extra for every single book, Mag said calmly. This system will pack all of them for you right now. The system's voice began to sound very enthusiastic. Ding! 1,000 novels with Cthulhu's elements were successfully packed. The total price is 89,233 copper coins. Ding! The cost has been successfully deducted. Ding! They're delivered. Mag opened his eyes and saw thick novels covering a whole wall in front of him. There were even some internet novels among them. He couldn't help feeling a little headache. This stupid system indeed would not pass up any chance to make money. Never mind. I will read them tomorrow. Mag hesitated for a while after looking at that wall of books, and then lay back in bed. Although the Thulhu mythos might have given him some inspiration, he didn't believe the answer lay within these novels. The secret vault might have simply borrowed these two phrases from the Necronomicon as an answer. As for whether they were closely related, he needed to find out more. After one hard day, Mag had a good sleep amidst the scent of the books. Mag rubbed in between his eyes with a headache when he opened his eyes next morning. He had no idea where to start from when there were so many books. Let's make breakfast first. Mag glanced at the alarm clock before he went downstairs. He saw Jane rubbing holy light in between her hands when he was about to enter the kitchen. A faint holy light was slowly converging at the tip of her fingers, gradually like a weak candle light. Jane's expression was especially solemn and sincere. Her gaze was fixed on that holy light as if she was staring at her idol. She's learned so fast. Her natural talent is quite good. Mag looked at Jane's gently glowing single horn. It, too, had a little holy light converging there. Mag had closely experienced all the advantages of holy light for the past few days. Light was always the fastest, and had a very strong restrictive power on the ghost's aura. He was glad to see the appearance of a light-type demon. It could be very helpful for the unknown future. If the Great Old Ones really exist, then does the god believed in by the magic casters exist too? God of light, God of life, Lord of fire. What are their relationships with the Great Old Ones? A question suddenly flashed through Mag's mind. Even though he had always believed they were fixed spells that the magic casters used, the answer that he had gotten from the secret vault had overthrown much of his paradigm. If the Great Old Ones indeed existed, then the existence of gods was acceptable too. What a headache! I hope that is only a legend. Mag shook his head. He, too, had a little resistance against the unknown. Is the Great Old One a new species? How's the texture of its flesh? What's their fat content? Is it suitable to be made into a new dish? Could we cultivate it on a grand scale? We may have to put the research of new recipes on the agenda. Make it into a sashimi? Barbecue it over charcoal fire? Coat it with breadcrumbs and deep fry it? Stir fry? Just as Mag was having a headache over the Great Old Ones that might exist, he didn't notice the section of weird words that were caught in between the data flow that was flowing through his mind like a waterfall. The holy light on Jane's hands extinguished suddenly, and she sighed with disappointment. She looked up and saw Mag standing at the door. Blushing, she stammered, "Be boss." Mag regained his wits after hearing the voice. Smiling, he replied, "Oh, Jane is very hard-working. You woke up so early for your practice." "I'm too stupid, so I have to wake up earlier to learn." Jane lowered her head embarrassedly. She was really very stupid compared to the lady boss. She could only light up a little bit of the holy light now, and it couldn't even light up a room. "No. You've already done very well." Mag shook his head with a smile. Irina had praised Jane's talent during their journey yesterday. "Carry on. I need to go make breakfast for you all." Jane nodded and watched Mag go into the kitchen before she continued to light up the holy light. Mag went up to read the novels for a while after breakfast. He chose to read H.P. Lovecraft's collection of short stories. After all, he was the creator of the Thulhu mythos, so his books should have a greater reference value. At 8 a.m., Mag went down to purchase crayfish as usual. Kitar was the first in the line with a net in his hands. There were dozens of crayfish in it. "Boss Mag, I've caught 13 crayfish today. Could I use them to practice?" Kitar said to Mag enthusiastically, raising the crayfish in his hands. Of course. Mag nodded. It was the best that the apprentices brought along their own ingredients. Alrighty. Kitar put the crayfish aside, and began to take the initiative to help Mag pour the crayfish he purchased into the pond. He was a great help. Ivan, who had caught 4 crayfish, swiftly joined in to help them. After Mag had finished collecting the crayfish, all the 10 apprentices had arrived with their own crayfish. Mag, who had wanted to go back to his reading, had no choice but to stay to teach them the actual operation. The control of heat was very important when it came to cooking crayfish. Therefore, Mag had intended to teach all of them how to control the heat in that morning. Chapter 1365. Do you think that I'm in love with Boss Mag? And Kitar, who had 13 crayfish, became the rich man among them as he had a very high trial and error rate. They could see their failure easily. Regardless if it was charring the crayfish during stir-frying, or burning the crayfish during the reduction, they all took turns making novices' mistakes. However, their improvements were also very obvious. Ivan, who couldn't even hold the spatula properly before, could already flip a whole crayfish over in the wok. Alright, that's all for this morning's practice session. I've got to start the service after a short rest. You guys may go first, Mag said to the apprentices at 11 a.m. He would have to treat them to lunch if they stayed. All of them bid their farewell to Mag respectfully. They only realized that cooking a delicious crayfish was a very difficult task after learning it themselves, so their respect for Mag increased tremendously too. We have taken care of Alfred and Simmons. Who's next? Mag asked Irina while they were having lunch. Weston, then, Irina replied after pondering for a while. That's a good candidate. Mag nodded slightly. Weston, the second elder of the Chivalrous and one of those people who had ambushed Alex back then. The Chivalrous were also a demon tribe that loved wars, and were known for their terrifying power of devastation. They were ranked at number 2 in the top 10 demon tribes, had a huge population, and their advanced combat power had been increasing tremendously in the recent 100 years. They were already challenging the overlord status of the Fear Demons. The Fear Demons' stance toward the peace negotiation was still unknown, so the Chivalrous were the real leaders of the pro-war factions. They were already pressurizing the pro-peace tribes in their attempt to form a powerful pro-war demons alliance. Weston enjoyed a high status as the second elder of the Chivalrous. However, he wasn't considered powerful, as he had only advanced to the 10th tier 10-odd years ago. Still, he was a rare demon who was known for his strategic mind. He could be considered as the brain of the Chivalrous. He had played an important role in the rapid increase of the power of the Chivalrous in the past 100 years. In the snippets of Mag's memory, Weston was the only demon who wanted to kill him completely, while the other demons and men were maiming Alex's limbs and sneers and jeers then. The Chivalrous didn't appear on the Roth Empire's punishment list for the ambush back then, but he guessed they should have received a huge reward from Josh. However, this fellow is very elusive. He may not be easy to get rid of. Irina picked up and bit into a piece of chicken before continuing, if we don't get a chance to get rid of him, then we will get rid of Bashir. Bashir. I heard he likes to collect elven maids. Irina's gaze and voice turned cold at the same time. Mag narrowed his eyes slightly. Elves who ended up in the hands of the demons usually didn't have a good end, and collection meant turning elves into pets completely. He nodded slightly. Him, then. Jane looked at Irina before looking at Mag. Although she didn't understand what they were talking about, they sounded formidable. After the lunch service, Mag hung an off sign on the door to prevent those enthusiastic apprentices from coming over to bother him earlier, and went back upstairs to read. The Thulhu Mythos system was huge. Mag would need a lot of time to understand it. However, apart from reading, there was no better solution now. The third day that Boss Mag left. I miss him. Vanessa propped her chin on her hands and boredly gazed at a wind chime that was swaying on the window. Princess, I have gone to inquire again. They said Boss Mag would return soon, Lola consoled her gently. She rather missed Boss Mag too. The princess lost much of her appetite after he had left. Vanessa turned around, and asked Lola, Lola, do you think that I'm in love with Boss Mag? I have never missed a man so much. I even think about him when I am sleeping. Are you sure you're not thinking about food instead of Boss Mag? Lola asked hesitantly. An awkward expression flashed across Vanessa's face as she murmured, although it was about food most of the time, without Boss Mag, we wouldn't have those foods. That only means that you like the food that Boss Mag cooked, and not him. Lola heaved a breath of relief secretly. If her princess fell in love with a chef, and a chef with a child at it, she would be so dead when she returned. All right. Compared to Boss Mag, I indeed prefer tofu pudding, braised chicken, and rice, Yangzhou fried rice. In this case, his ranking came after the top 10. Vanessa nodded. She suddenly felt a little apologetic that she had sort of let Boss Mag down. Oh, yes. The Duke said His Majesty has written again, asking you to return. Do you plan on staying on in Tottery 1? Lola said. There's nothing fun to do back in the palace. There's nobody there to play with me and nothing nice to eat. I will mold in my room since I'm trapped there every day. Vanessa shook her head before revealing a dazzling smile. It's so nice to be here. Uncle Abraham will bring me to eat good food every day, and the patrons at the restaurant are very adorable too. Eating with them is so much more interesting than staying in the palace. Lola swallowed her words when she saw Vanessa's smile. A smile appeared on her face too. It was very rare to see the princess smile like this in the palace. Furthermore, Mr. Mag has promised to fix my teeth for me. I'm not going back before my teeth are fixed, Vanessa said as a matter of fact. Take a look, everyone. This is already the 36th letter of blood. I think someone will really hang themselves on our door if the boss doesn't return soon. Yabimiya went out and returned with a bundle of blood letters and other sort of mails that were stuck to the door. She helplessly said to all of them, it's already been 3 days. The boss has seldom stayed away for long. I guess Amy and he wouldn't be returning on today, either. Babla tossed a hovering plate around with her fingers boringly. If boss doesn't return soon, the grieving customers are going to tear down the restaurant soon, Firas said worriedly. It wasn't just Boss Mag and Amy, the princess had also left for days. Don't worry. They're not going to tear down the restaurant, Elizabeth said calmly. They would have to go through her if they attempted to do that. One annotation text missing. Carapace Island was located close to the territorial waters of both tribes, but it fortunately wasn't implicated in the war. However, it would be difficult to maintain peace for the coming period of time. Mag didn't like war, but instead of letting 2 warmongering tribes out to hurt the world, he would rather they hurt each other. Hence, he didn't feel any guilt for starting this war. The pro-war faction, which had already had the advantage on the Demon Islands, was torn apart by this war, and this tier continued to worsen. Interesting. Why don't we go and watch the show? Irina, who walked over, said to Mag enthusiastically after overhearing the demons' conversation. All right, Mag answered. He, too, was very curious about the war between 2 demon tribes. The crayfish that were bought in the past few days were sold out quickly. Mag rejected the requests of a few customers to continue drinking. After Irina took out the stool, peace and quiet was resumed in the restaurant. Mag summoned Ozzy and tossed the 3 beggars' chickens that he had prepared in advance to it. Ozzy swallowed the meat together with the bones, and showed a happy expression. Its head came over to Boop Mag's hand as it looked at him expectantly. That's all. I'll get you something nice tomorrow. Mag rubbed Ozzy's head. Howl Ozzy let out a happy call, and bowed down to let Mag and his family up its back. Let's go. We will go watch a good show tonight. Mag picked up Amy and got onto the griffin's back. Irina, too, landed gently behind Mag. She reached out to embrace Mag's back naturally. The griffin spread its wings, and the huge shadow quickly disappeared from the sky of Carapace Island, and flew toward Flaming Island. Flaming Island was full of flames usually, but the flames were even fiercer today. Explosions and shouts could be heard from every part of the island. There were countless huge ships with the Abyss Demon's flags sailing toward Flaming Island, and numerous giant fireballs with red tails flew from Flaming Island and exploded on the ships. Fire quickly broke out on the entire ships, and the Abyss Demon riders turned to ashes before they rode on their pigs and jumped into the sea. Meanwhile, those vessels which had docked put up the planks, and the Abyss Demons riding on porcupine battle boars charged toward Flaming Island and stomped over everything in their way. The epic battle scenes awed Mag, who was watching in the sky with a telescope. This war was totally different from the steel and cannon of modern warfare. There were Abyss Demons and Flaming Demons dying in every single second. The brutality of war was displayed to its max at this moment. Moreover, this was a war between two demon tribes with similar strength. If this war escalated into a racial war between all the species on the Norland continent, it would be even more brutal. The goblins, dwarves, Chaos City. How were they going to face attacks like this? Feeling guilty? Irina suddenly asked. Since they chose war, this is their destiny. At least those species who yearned for peace don't have to withstand the disaster that they'd bring upon them. Mag shook his head. I seem to have discovered some demons who are watching a good show like us. Irina turned the telescope to the other side and revealed an amused smile. Should we make the situation even more chaotic? Mag also saw some demons from other tribes who were watching the battle on flying steeds in the air. Many of them belonged to the top 10 demon tribes. We could make them busy for a while if we get rid of them. Mag and Irina looked at each other and smiled at the same time. Little Eye, prepare your fireball magic. It's time for us to act again. Mag took out a mask and put it on his face. I, the assassin, is prepared. Amy took out her wand and nodded. Ozzy, get all the flying steeds in the sky down with your fastest speed. Remember to conceal yourself well. Mag patted on Ozzy's head. Ozzy kept its wings and suddenly dived nearly 1000 m downward before kicking a Shivara together with the three-headed bird he was riding into the sea. A red fireball followed after them closely, and exploded just before they reached the water. In the dark, all the demons from different tribes who were sent to observe the battle were kicked into the waters and then topped up with a fireball. In less than 10 minutes, the sky was all clear. Not even one flying steed could be seen. Let's go. I'm afraid this war will last for quite some time, Mag said softly. Ozzy quickly ascended and flew away from Flaming Island's territorial waters. Although the overall power of the Abyss Demons was higher than the Flaming Demons, it wasn't an overwhelming advantage. As long as there wasn't a reconciliation, the battle wouldn't have a clear winner within a short time. Ozzy flew toward the northwest. As the most powerful demon tribe, the Fear Demons occupied the 3 largest islands in the center of Demon Islands, and named them Fear Islands. Ozzy circled a few rounds above the Fear Islands. As they had already sensed dozens of 10th-tier powerhouses aura down below, Mag chose to leave. Even if they couldn't win, Mag had never been afraid of anyone. However, it was better to conceal the fact that Irina and he had appeared on the Demon Islands. Otherwise, people would link them together with the events that happened on the Demon Islands recently. This was not beneficial to the application of their plan. Mag then made a trip to Shivara Island. Shivara Island had a complicated terrain, and it obviously made searching for the sneaky Weston even more difficult. Moreover, there were also 5, 6 10th-tier powerhouses on the island. Irina looked down, and angrily said, "The sneaky old fool is such a pain." "We will find an opportunity in the future," Mag said, and then indicated Ozzy to return home. Mag washed up and was preparing to sleep after reading the books after they got back to the crayfish restaurant, but then knocking appeared downstairs. Mag drew open the windows and looked down. It was Dexter, the high priest of Lantist. Hence, he quickly wore something over his pajamas, and went down to open the door. "Esteemed Mr. Mag, these are what we've caught for the past few days. Please count them." Dexter took out a huge tank from the crystal ball, and there were dozens of crayfish in it. Chapter 1367 What kind of waste are you? Mag counted them diligently. There were a total of 45 crayfish. Together with the reproductive crayfish that he had collected from the fishermen in the past few days, he now had 62 reproductive crayfish. It had already exceeded the number of reproductive crayfish needed to complete the mission after he negotiated with the system. "The total is 45. I will send the 5,000 mud casings to you as soon as possible when I return in the next few days," Mag said to Dexter happily. "I already have enough crayfish. Thank you for making this trip. It's our honor to serve you." "Lantist thanks you for your generosity," Dexter replied with a smile, even though he had sent all the Lantistines who could leave the seal to catch the crayfish, including 10 10th-tier powerhouses. However, receiving 5,000 mud casings meant receiving 5,000 chances to leave the seal to the Lantistines. It was a very worthwhile trade. "Do you want to come in for a while?" "No, thank you. Mr. Mag should be resting soon. I will visit you personally in Chaos City again shortly." Dexter looked at the pajamas Mag was wearing, and bade his farewell with a smile. Mag was indeed only being courteous. He watched Dexter leave before returning to the restaurant with the huge net. The crayfish count in his mind had become 62/50ths, which meant the catching mission was already accomplished. Only the promotion of cooking crayfish and the habits of eating crayfish were left before the crayfish mission was completely accomplished. The craze of eating crayfish on Carapace Island was in its most heated stage, and its influence was spreading rapidly. Although the exact progress of the 10 apprentices' culinary skills differed, their progress was good overall. After the final teaching class tomorrow, those apprentices who passed the test could set up their own crayfish restaurant. "System, how do we handle these reproductive crayfish?" Mag asked in his mind as he looked at those crayfish which were caught with a lot of effort. The system had used a chance to use the submarine to exchange one reproductive crayfish from Mag before, so if he could get some goodies from the system with these extra 12 crayfish, it would be much better than just barbecuing them. "Could the host please execute the pollution-free treatment for them?" the system answered. Don't you want them?" Mag was a little surprised. These crayfish which left the crayfish farm are no longer pure. They could have contracted some unknown viruses and foreign parasites. "This system will not take them back," the system answered. "Then we have to eat to execute the pollution-free treatment." Mag sighed. It seemed like it was almost impossible to get a sum of money from the system. At the same time, in order to answer the call of God and cultivate the host's environmental awareness, this system decided to implement waste sorting on the host from today onward. The host will have to sort the waste before throwing them. Otherwise, this system wouldn't accept it, and would fine the host. Mag was stunned. Mag wasn't unfamiliar with waste sorting, since he had studied overseas for several years. But the system had never given him such an exaggerated request before. It had indeed astonished him by answering the call right now. It was really a little weird to do waste sorting in this world where even the plastic bags didn't exist. "System, what kind of waste are you? How would this system know?" "All right. Let me test you since you want to implement waste sorting." Mag curled his lips. "Ha! This system has already studied God's instructions in depth," the system answered confidently. "How many types of waste classification are there?" "Recyclable garbage, hazardous garbage, wet garbage, and dry garbage." "Then, what kind of waste is dried nuts?" "Dry garbage." "Wrong. It's wet garbage." Question: what kind of waste is glue? "It's definitely wet garbage," the system replied with conviction. "Wrong again. It's dry garbage." Question: what kind of waste are jerky, jujube, and flour, respectively. Dry garbage, dry garbage, dry garbage. Wrong. They're all wet garbage. Mag shook his head and smirked. Perishable biomass and domestic waste are all wet garbage. System, didn't you study in depth? Given your qualification, I think we'd better put everything together, or else it could cause secondary pollution easily if it was processed haphazardly. No. This is just a small mistake. This system must strictly enforce the requirements of garbage classification, the system refused. Ask me again. All right. Then, I will ask you one last question. Now, I have a plastic bowl which contains several day-old leftover food and rat poison. I am about to throw them away after poisoning the rats. So, how should I handle and classify them during disposition? Screech, a series of static sounds appeared in Mag's mind, and the system's interface in his mind became blue as lines of meaningless numbers flowed across it. Although the waste classification is going to benefit generations, its execution still has a long way to go. Mag sighed, and didn't bother with the system which had crashed. He tossed the rest of the crayfish into the kitchen's tank. The reproductive crayfish tasted even better than the normal crayfish. He was going to save them up for personal use since they weren't easily caught. The landing operation conducted by the Abyss Demons on Flaming Island had encountered very strong resistance. Tens of thousands of Abyss Demon riders charged onto Flaming Island, tearing into the Flaming Demons' defense lines again and again. However, they were all stopped, and roasted pigs were left on the ground everywhere. The sun began to rise up from the sea's horizon at dawn. The Abyss Demons who had fought through the night finally heard the horn for retreat. The fireballs that were shot out from Flaming Island became sparse too. The equally tired Flaming Demons didn't pursue the Abyss Demons. Both parties hadn't prepared sufficiently for this battle that had broken out suddenly, yet they had conducted an extremely horrifying battle through the night. Bodies were strewn all over the areas where landing could be conducted. None of the tribes had anticipated this sudden conflict, and it broke the peace before the species peace renegotiation. One had to know that Alfred and Simmons had still been drinking together happily when they gathered under the abyss a few days ago. Of course, they, too, hadn't anticipated that they would be swept into this conflict so easily, because all the demon diplomats that they had sent out to observe the battle on location didn't return. This matter wasn't huge, but it also wasn't small, either. However, no matter what, it still concerned the reputation of a tribe, so all the tribes couldn't pretend that it hadn't happened. Hence, they all sent solemn letters of inquiry to the Abyss Demons and the Flaming Demons. It's another day of fine weather. Mag drew open the curtains, and the sun shone on the gentle smile on his face. They should be able to return to Chaos City in 2 days at most. He wondered how Mia and the gang were doing. Can we also open the restaurant on Carapace Island? Kitar asked expectantly. Yes. You may open it wherever you like. Mag nodded with a smile. After all, he would be leaving soon, so it was naturally for the best if they could spread on Carapace Island. That's fantastic. In this case, I could go back to my hometown and open a crayfish restaurant. Ivan's eyes lit up. He didn't want to continue to stay on Carapace Island, and wished to return to their hometown in glory. Although Rock Island was remote, the crayfish was a huge tonic to his kind, so he would be able to sell them for a much higher price than on Carapace Island. Then, Mag began to teach as usual. Of course, since everyone had already entered into the hands-on phase, he was mostly responsible for pointing out their mistakes. Among these apprentices, Kitar was the fastest learner and did the best. An aroma tickled his noses when he removed the cover. A red crayfish was lying in the wok quietly as he turned up the fire to reduce the gravy. He then turned off the fire and plated the crayfish before drizzling the gravy all over it. A simplified version of the 13-spice crayfish was done. Please taste it, boss, Kitar said to Mag with anticipation as he placed the big bowl on the table at the side with both hands. Mag went forward and waved away the steam gently before twisting a pincer off. The gravy had seeped into the pincer through the cracks, and dyed the meat with a beautiful brown color. He took a bite after dipping it in the gravy. The modified version of the 13 spice still had a very good taste and aroma. Although it was still a little lacking in the layered texture aspect when compared to the system-enhanced version of 13 spice, it was still a spice with a unique flavor. Spicy, fresh, fragrant, and sweet. All the tastes were present, and the texture of meat and the control of heat were fine. Although the meat was slightly overdone, it wasn't obvious if they tasted it closely. Not bad. Mag gave the expectant Kitar his approval after eating a whole pincer. Kitar was the most hard-working, and had the most trials among the apprentices. He had gone beyond Mag's expectations by reaching such standards, yet it felt very reasonable too. Elation flashed across Kitar's face and his voice quivered. Then did I pass the test? Not yet. Mag shook his head, and continued, the fire was too big during the stir-frying, and the frequency of tossing was too low. If there were 10 crayfish in the wok instead of 1, this flaw would be magnified 10 times. You have to control the timing of adding in the 13 spice more accurately. Too early or too late would affect the meat's absorption of both spices and condiments. Kitar nodded appreciatively. There was no despair on his face even though he was rejected. He continued to wash the wok, heat up the oil, and practice. Very soon, the other apprentices had cooked their crayfish, and Mag tasted them one by one. They didn't do as well as Kitar, and their problems persisted. The demons were indeed not talented in cooking. However, Mag didn't want to use his standards to limit them. After all, not everyone could be as outstanding as him. From the customers, Mag received the latest news about the Abyss demons and the Flaming demons. Although the other tribes weren't involved in the battle, they were sniping at one another because of the sudden unexplainable deaths of their demon diplomats. The situation on the Demon Islands had become very tense. Of course, the most shocking news on Carapace Island was something else. The Abyss Demon's office on Carapace Island had launched a sneak attack on the Flaming Demon's office last night, and killed all the Flaming Demons. The other 8 halls arrested the demons from Abyss Demon's office with combined efforts, but nobody knew how they were going to handle them yet. Those living on Carapace Island, who weren't involved in the battle, also began to have an ominous feeling. Many demons were worried. Tony wasn't affected by the war at all. Smiling, he said to Mag, "Boss, I've already sent the culinary review about your crayfish to the editors of all the culinary magazines. If everything goes smoothly, it should be published in the coming few days, and your crayfish restaurant is going to be full of customers. How are you going to thank me?" "Oh, I see," Mag murmured. He would have left Carapace Island in the next few days, so he really had no idea how to thank this friendly critic. It was still fine if that article wasn't famous. If it got popular and those customers who came because of it only saw a ruin, he wondered if they would murder Tony. Mag suddenly looked at Tony sympathetically. "Well, in this case, I will give you 3 crayfish. 1 for each flavor. This way, at least he could hit the road after he was full. Maybe he would be cursed to death by the reader's grievances and be immensely unlucky for his next life. Come to think of it, it would be the start of another kind of miserable life. Served him right. All right, then I will not stand on ceremony." Tony's eyes lit up. He was simply saying it for fun, and didn't expect Mag to agree. Anyway, he did publicize for Mag, and II Crayfish restaurant would become the most popular restaurant on the Demon Islands under his influence. He felt he deserved those 3 crayfish. "Kitar, Cassis. The 6 of you have passed. Of course, you've only just passed. You still are some distance away from cooking real scrumptious crayfish. However, that would take time and practice to accomplish. During this journey, you may choose to open your own crayfish restaurant," Mag smilingly said to the 6 apprentices, including Kitar. He shook their hands and smiled. "Congratulations, you've graduated. Thank you so much. Kitar bowed to Mag deeply with ill-concealed excitement on his face. He already couldn't wait to get the big wok that he ordered from the blacksmith home and opened a crayfish restaurant immediately before going to catch a few dozens of crayfish on the beach. There was also excitement on the other demons' faces as they expressed their appreciation to Mag. Meanwhile, Yvonne and the other 3 demons who didn't pass had a depressed look. "Boss, what about us? Are we weeded out just like this?" Yvonne said to Mag weakly. He was reminded of Gemina's tough words earlier. He didn't dare to think what he had to face when he returned home. The crayfish that the 4 of you made didn't reach the minimum standards to be presented to the customers. I will add on another day of lessons for you. However, you will need to purchase the crayfish that you need for practice tomorrow yourself. That's all if you still can't reach the minimum standards, Mag said to Yvonne and the rest. He was rather helpless when he faced the apprentices with bad talent. A blood-red blade slashed across the screen which looked like a black fog. It only caused some ripples across the screen. Camilla lowered her hand weakly. There was no way she could damage this screen with her power. She could see the castle's servants busily preparing for the wedding from where she was. A huge wedding was in preparation and she was the female lead, but she wasn't happy at all. Ha! Camilla gradually clenched her fists, and her nails were embedded into her flesh as she smirked, and murmured to herself, "Do you all believe things will go according to your wishes just because you planned the wedding? Don't blame me for destroying this wedding since you all are forcing me to get married. That fellow Noak is not bad. Why can't you love him, Camilla?" A black figure was suddenly leaning against the edge of the castle. He was holding a clear crystal glass between his thumb and forefinger, and swirling the red wine in the glass gently as he gazed at Camilla with a vague smile. He had neat back-combed hair, a tall and elegant nose, and royal blue eyes, and wore a well-fitting black suit like a well-bred gentleman. "Uncle Dracula!" Camilla's eyes lit up, and she rushed to the screen. She lowered her voice. "Let me out, please. No can do. I will be the one being locked up here if I let you out." Dracula shook his head and lightly sighed. "You know very well nobody can alter your father's decision. Could you bear to watch him force me to marry again?" Camilla said, biting her lips. Dracula took a sip of the red wine, and then turned his finger around. The clear wine glass spun on top of his finger, and the blood-red wine splashed onto that screen. Shhh! That barrier that sealed Camilla in had simply disappeared with a faint sound. "This is..." Camilla stared at the dissolving barrier in astonishment before saying to Dracula in amazement, "You've advanced, Uncle Dracula." "Well, I was in existence who was considered as the #1 genius in the vampire tribe and the one who had the most probability to become a vampire ancestor back then," Dracula said smugly as he swirled the crystal glass with his fingertips. "And you've gotten the ancestor bloodline." Camilla stared at the dark red bat tattoo on Dracula's right middle finger with an even more shocked expression. It seemed to be formed by coagulated blood, and had a bloody scent. "I'm taking a big risk to save you." Dracula flattened his back-combed hair melancholically. "Uncle Dracula, I knew you're the nicest." Camilla hugged Dracula happily. Dracula looked at Camilla and thought that the little one who liked to crawl up his leg had already grown into a young woman before he noticed. He didn't manage to stand in front of her to protect her the first time, so he wouldn't let himself regret it for the second time again. "Let's go. I'll bring you to a place," Dracula said relaxedly. "Are you coming with me?" Camilla asked with confusion. "I am now the vampire chosen by the ancestor bloodline. Even your father cannot do anything to me." Dracula shook his head and lifted his lips to show a pair of razor-sharp fangs as he smilingly murmured, "Do you remember how the ancestor bloodline is passed on?" "It's passed on with blood." Camilla nodded, and her eyes suddenly lit up. "You're saying, let's go? I think that old thing from the Bartoli family will be very shocked to see us." Dracula waved gently, and the screen that had been dissolved earlier went back to normal. Meanwhile, he grabbed onto Camilla's arm, turned into a black fog, and disappeared too. Soon, a bat patrolled around the tower once. After making sure the barrier was all right, it disappeared again. On another island, there was another castle built on a cliff. There were weather-beaten marks on it, and bats frequently flew over it. Remember, Noke. Don't lose your senses over Camilla, that *tch. She must have something to do with your older brother's death back then. She's merely a stepping stone for you to become the sovereign of vampires, an elderly vampire sitting on a throne in the castle's hall coldly said to the young vampire with blonde hair and blue eyes standing in the center of the hall. Yes. I remember, Noxus replied respectfully as he lowered his head, but he couldn't suppress the excited gleam in his eyes. That woman that he had been pining for years was going to finally become his. He already couldn't control his excitement when he simply thought about it. You may leave. Prepare well for the wedding. Maynard doesn't have a son, and the future of the vampire tribe belongs to you. Giles lifted his hand. Noke bowed respectfully before retreating out of the hall. Giles was left alone in the spacious hall. Blood-red light cast an eerie glow onto the hall where he was sitting on the throne of bones. Time had left deep wrinkles on his face, and even the freshest blood couldn't fill up these ravines. Being a vampire ancestor, Giles had already lived for over 1,300 years. It was a very long time, and nobody in the vampire tribe had lived longer than him. Even the Great Elder was 300 years younger than him. Giles caressed that red bat on his right middle finger gently. The wrinkled skin deformed its shape a little, and the originally bright red color became dark red. He could still remember this bat's bloodthirsty look when his grandfather passed the ancestor bloodline to him. It had already been 1,000 years. This bloodline shall be passed to Noke after he gets married, Giles mumbled to himself, and a smile flashed across his expressionless face. I'm sorry. I'm afraid your wish is not going to come true. A voice resounded in the hall as a black fog converged in the center of the hall. Dracula appeared in the center of the hall with Camilla, and gave Giles the middle finger with a smile. The ancestor bloodline has chosen me. Giles looked at Dracula's protruding middle finger. That blood-red bat reminded him of himself when he had just received the ancestor bloodline's recognition then. What a surprise! The ancestor bloodline has chosen your family again. Giles smiled and revealed a pair of fangs that were as sharp as ever. His expression didn't change a single bit because of Dracula's and Camilla's arrival. I came to reject this marriage for Camilla, and I will be taking what belongs to me as well. Dracula retrieved his middle finger and smiled at Giles with manners. You mean a little guy who eats grass like you? Giles raised his right hand, and the blood-red light of the hall's wall lamps brightened instantaneously. The temperature in the great hall decreased suddenly, and ice began to form on the floor and the roof. Noke and Camilla's wedding will go on as planned, and you're not going to leave with what you covet, either. Chapter 1370 That was a vampire ancestor who could eat grass. Dracula slowly released the fangs that bit into Giles' neck before wiping away the smear of deep red blood at his lips. His bloodshot eyes slowly become royal blue again. Giles' shriveled up body fell to the floor and turned into black dust rapidly. Camilla, who was standing at a corner, watched this scene in a shock. A vampire ancestor simply met his end like this while the new ancestor was born. Furthermore, all these were done by Dracula, who was mocked for years for eating grass. Irina was right. Being a vegetarian occasionally is good for health. At least the blood wouldn't be so sticky, Dracula, who got a glass out from nowhere, murmured as he rinsed his mouth. Uncle Dracula, you're considered as half an ancestor now. You really should watch your image, Camilla reminded him. Oh, yes. Dracula replied, and then swallowed the mouthful of water. Camilla and Dracula stared at each other for 10 seconds before laughing out together at the same time. Dracula glanced at the door, and then smilingly said to Camilla, "Listen to the noises, they should be here soon. Go ahead first and go wherever you want. Leave all these to Uncle." I shall do what I didn't do then all at once now. Camilla looked at Dracula with reddened eyes before hugging him tightly, and softly said, "Thank you, uncle. Little girl, you're my only niece." Dracula patted Camilla's back with a smile before pushing her gently. Black fog shrouded Camilla before disappearing from the hall. Almost at the same time, a group of vampires broke in through the door. Camilla reappeared 1000 m above the sea and looked toward the castle. She could hear the sounds of fighting clearly. She spread her wings and swiftly disappeared in the dark sky. The power of a vampire ancestor was already far above normal 10th tier vampires, even when the ancestor had only just advanced. As for her, she could only return to Chaos City first. At least she could have some peace and quiet there. Boss, the flaming demons had suffered a great loss after a tough battle with the abyss demons. Should we take this opportunity to attack Flaming Island and seize our territory back? Mond asked SAHDR. All the lava demons had a gleam in their eyes too. We're not the flaming demons match even when they've just had an intense battle with the abyss demons, and we don't have the ability to take Lava Island back. SAHDR shook his head with a calm expression. All the lava demons fell into silence. Although the Holy Lava Order had removed half of the curse on their bodies, apart from SAHDR who had advanced to the 9th tier, none of them had managed to even advance to the 8th tier. Attacking Flaming Island with such a strength was indeed suicidal when they thought about it properly. Worried, Keel said, "Then, what do we do now, boss? The flaming demons have already discovered that we're here. They will definitely send people here again after their war with the abyss demons ceases." SAHDR got up, and loudly declared, "Everyone, pack your belongings. We will be leaving here tonight. Since we already got the Holy Lava Order, there's no need to guard this place any longer." "Where are you bringing us, SAHDR?" the Great Elder asked in a hoarse voice. "Chaos City." SAHDR raised the Holy Lava Order in his hand up high, and shouted, "Burning Legion." "For the Holy Regiemo," all the lava demons shouted in unison. "A vampire ancestor is dead?" Dracula became the new vampire ancestor. The next morning, Mag was really shocked to hear that news. Moreover, he had heard an even more important piece of news. Camilla was actually going to marry the younger brother of her former husband. However, she seemed to have disappeared after yesterday's chaos. Did Camilla return to the vampire tribe? Mag mumbled. It seemed like Camilla took the opportunity to return home when he was away, but was suddenly forced to marry. Since she disappeared, it meant she most likely wasn't pleased with this wedding. That grass-eating Dracula has actually become the new vampire ancestor. He has really made it. I earned a lot of money when I reared him to eat grass then. Irina was equally shocked to hear this piece of news. This act of yours, Mag had no idea how to pass judgment on that. He had heard that story when Dracula came to Chaos City to take part in the negotiation of the two tribes. However, it felt completely different hearing it from Irina's mouth. How could someone toy with others' ancestors like this? Irina suddenly came close, and whispered, "How about this? Let's catch him and make him eat grass again? He is so famous now. We can charge double for the tickets this time, and many people will definitely come to see him." Mag looked at Irina's serious expression, and quickly waved his hands. Let's forget it. The vampires would fight to death with us if we really did that." Dracula had been just an unimportant 9th tier vampire then, so it had been fine to make him eat grass. Given that it was Irina and Alex, adding the backing of the elves, the vampires could forget about the humiliation. But Dracula was the vampire ancestor now, and according to the vampire ancestor's method of inheritance, his status was as important as the chief's. He represented the face of the vampires, so it would be too much to catch him for a grass-eating exhibition again. "All right." Irina shrugged, bored. What a great entertainment project. That was a vampire ancestor who could eat grass. After a day of training, and with Mag turning a blind eye, Ivan and the other 3 demons successfully graduated. Thank you for grooming me, Boss Hades. I will never forget you for the rest of my life. I thank you and all your ancestors. Ivan shook Mag's hand excitedly as he spoke incoherently. The other three demons expressed their gratitude to Mag too. Although they knew the crayfish they cooked were far from Mag's standards, if they opened a crayfish restaurant on another island, they were confident that they could attract some customers. Don't mention it. Mag shook his head smilingly. Although they had only spent 3 days together, Mag felt rather happy to say goodbye. He could finally send these idiots away. Oh, yes. Ivan, I have a gift for you, Mag said to Ivan, who was the last to say goodbye. He went into the restaurant and came out with 2 big reproductive crayfish. A male and a female. These are. Ivan looked at Mag with a perplexed look. These are 2 reproductive crayfish. You said you're going to set up the restaurant back in your hometown. You can bring these 2 crayfish back to rear. Although it will take some time, as long as it forms a certain scale, you don't have to worry about not having sufficient ingredients, Mag said smilingly. Oh! Thank you so much. Ivan's eyes lit up, and he accepted the reproductive crayfish from Mag as if they were great treasures. Chapter 1371 His manhood suffered when his power was weak. The usually haughty and hot-tempered demons seemed to have toned themselves down here. One reason was that the lady boss's temper was even hotter than theirs, and the stool in her hand was extremely powerful and unreasonable. The other reason was that they all seemed to have reached an unspoken consensus that enjoying their food quietly in such a restaurant was giving the scrumptious food the most basic respect. The area covered by the crayfish's famed Carapace Island is completed. The range covered is an area of 30 km. The system's reminder sounded in Mag's mind. System, the way you calculated isn't right. Many of the customers who came to the crayfish restaurant in the past few days came from other islands, and it has been increasing, so you cannot group them under Carapace Island. Mag cocked an eyebrow. There were an estimated 1,000 customers tonight, and the 10 apprentices had also graduated. He was ready to return to Chaos City, but according to how the system calculated, his mission was far from over. The number of customers in the last few days is indeed increasing, but the base number is small, and a strong influence is not set up in the other areas. The customers, too, didn't establish the habit of eating crayfish. Hence, the area covered is only limited, the system answered. Mag furrowed his eyebrows. The system wasn't wrong to say that. After some pondering, he said, "Oh, yes. A food reviewer called Tony wrote an article for the crayfish yesterday. System, could you assess the influence that it would assert after this article is released? Could it create a crayfish-eating craze?" Tony, well-known food reviewer and the most famous food reviewer on the Demon Islands, has the nickname "Nobody Knows Seafood Better Than Him," and has a huge number of fans on the Norland continent and Demon Islands. The food that he reviewed would be widely discussed quickly, and a craze of eating it would be triggered. If he had written a special article about crayfish and released it on all the culinary magazines, it would most probably cause a crayfish-eating craze and bring a huge number of customers to II Crayfish Restaurant, the system commented. I never expected he would be someone with so much influence. Mag cocked his eyebrow, feeling rather surprised. Smiling, he continued, then, such a volume and influence have definitely exceeded the coverage of 300 kilometers. The influence is established, so my mission should be considered accomplished, right? After a moment of silence, the system replied, according to this system's calculation, that particular culinary article's influence has already achieved the motive of promoting the consumption of eating crayfish and starting a craze. After some discounts, it could be used to offset the criteria of the influence within 300 kilometers. The mission's criterion is accomplished. The progress of the reproductive crayfish catching mission, 62/50. Accomplished. Ding! Congratulations host for completing the crayfish catching mission. You have received the title Crayfish Hunter and 0.5 strength as the reward. Mag looked at the glowing crayfish hunter title in his mind, and swiped it aside straight away. He then stared at the strength point with wide eyes. Finally, he received 0.5 strength point again. After absorbing this 0.5 strength and going through the thunder test, he would advance to the 9th tier formally. He would be only one step away from getting back to his peak form. After living together with Irina, he increasingly felt the importance of a powerful strength. His manhood suffered when his power was weak. When could he just lie there like a master and watch Irina smilingly walk over with a basin of water to wash his feet, using her delicate hands? What are you thinking about? Irina suddenly appeared next to him, and patted him lightly on the shoulder. Feet washing, Mag, who was lost in his thoughts, blurted out. His heart suddenly beat rapidly when he opened his eyes and saw Irina's smiling eyes. He cursed silently. Are you thinking about making me wash your feet? Irina asked smilingly. The gaze that she focused on Mag seemed to have seen through what he was thinking. How could that ever happen? I'm just thinking that I didn't do a good job previously, and there's still room for improvement. Mag shook his head gravely. Oh, I see. Never mind, I can give you another chance. Irina smiled, and continued, then, I will bother you to wash my feet again tonight. All right. There was a hint of bitterness in Mag's smile. What to do? He had to swallow the bitter fruit that he planted. Oh, yes. I need to go out tonight. Will I come over? Irina asked again. I told it yesterday that I've prepared delicious food for it today. Mag nodded before asking, are you planning to go to Shivara Island? No. I'm going somewhere else. I made a trip to Fell Island in the afternoon, and confirmed a location where they imprisoned the elves. I plan to kill all those scumbags tonight, liberate my people, and bring them back to Chaos City. Irina shook her head. Although her expression was calm, her tone of voice was exceptionally cold. All right, I will go with you tonight. Mag nodded with an equally severe expression. He had once exterminated a demon stronghold that hunted wandering elves with Amy. He knew very well how evil those fellows were, and how badly the elves suffered in a place like this. Irina nodded and didn't reject. Oh, yes, system. If someone tries to stop the process when I am being struck by the thunder, what would happen? Mag suddenly asked in his mind curiously. Then he would receive a backlash that is several times more powerful. The backlash will be related to the level of the interference. The harder he tries to interfere, the more powerful the backlash is, the system answered before severely warning, please do not try to interfere with the thunder strike with external forces, host. If the lightning and electricity didn't go through your body, it wouldn't agitate your cells into upgrading and reorganizing, and the effect of recovering your potential and advancement wouldn't be achieved. I'm clear about that. Mag understood, but he curled his lips. Seems like I've wasted plenty of opportunities in the past. I will find a good location to go through the test this time. Let's go to the Fear Islands again after we settle that stronghold tonight. Let's have a talk with Bashir, Mag said to Irina. Irina looked at Mag in surprise. They had just been to the Fear Islands the night before the last, and had abandoned their plans because of the other party's huge numbers. I came up with a solution. Maybe we could try it out. Mag smiled. Chapter 1372 Holy Light Purify These Dirty Demons. I am an assassin without emotions. Amy nodded coldly. This is weird. Mag stared at Amy, and felt that this little girl had been completely led astray by her mother. Isn't this very cool? Amy looked at Mag perplexedly. That's right. We're assassins without emotions who focus on killing the bad guys, Irina said haughtily. She had already removed her camouflage, and put on her white long dress again. Mag smiled helplessly as he looked at the mother-daughter duo. All right. He also wanted to nurture Amy's character to help the weak and punish the evil, so it was good that she learned that from her mother. Ozzy. Mag waved, and Ozzy dashed down from the sky like a purple lightning. It spread its wings to slow down its descent before landing on the balcony quietly. Even though it had folded in its wings slightly, they still covered the entire balcony. Come here. Mag tossed the 10 beggars' chickens that he had prepared in advance to Ozzy one by one, and Ozzy ate every one of them with a single bite. It chewed with a crackling sound, and its tail was swaying instinctively. It even looked at Mag expectantly after it had finished eating. That's all we have. I will make you more next time. Mag patted Ozzy's head with a smile. Given its appetite, 10 beggars' chickens could only be considered as an insufficient supper. Ow! Ozzy rubbed against Mag's palm with its head lovingly. Although it wasn't full, it was still very grateful. Let's go then. Mag picked up Amy and leaped onto Ozzy's back. Irina leaped onto Ozzy's back too. Ozzy spread its wings, rose up into the air, and quickly disappeared from Carapace Island's sky. Such a strong wind suddenly came. Jane, who had just gathered all the rubbish together, held onto her skirt quickly as she looked up into the sky with befuddlement. The moon was hanging in the sky and she saw nothing, so she continued to clear the rubbish. Meanwhile, 2 black figures poked out their heads from an alley nearby, and gazed toward the crayfish restaurant. Do we act now? A demon whispered. Let's wait a while longer. We will act after they're asleep, the other demon whispered in reply. That lady boss and the girl are so pretty. Let's have some fun with them after we got the money. Hey, we think alike. They can earn tens of thousands of copper coins every day. We will have a good life no matter where we go. 2 low laughters reverberated throughout the alley. The purple-striped griffin flew all the way northward, and a red island about 650 kilometers away from Carapace Island appeared in their view. Fell Island was the territory of fell demons. As a powerful tribe that ranked at the 7th place, the fell demons were known for their powerful and evil natural talents. They could absorb others' powers and use them as their own. Because of their evil talents, their power could increase exponentially. Furthermore, there was an unnamed island that was full of weird rock formations about 160 kilometers north of Fell Island. It looked like an uninhabited island, and not even a magic beast could be seen there. It's right there, Irina said in a cold voice as she pointed at that black uninhabited island on the sea. Go down, Ozzy. Mag patted Ozzy's back gently, and it dived down immediately. As they got closer and closer, Mag could sense the presence of the demons. It seemed like Irina's intel was correct. There was indeed something hiding on this island. Ozzy glided close to the uninhabited island at a low altitude, while Irina closed her eyes. A powerful spiritual power gushed downward like waves. Irina opened her eyes, and softly said, "That's the entrance to the cave. There's a total of 40 demons. The most powerful one is an 8th-tier demon, and the rest are just small fries. The elves are trapped in the rock cavern in the cave. There's a total of 320 elves. Ozzy, go to the cave's entrance," Mag ordered. Howl! Ozzy let out a cry as it transformed into a purple lightning, and flew toward the cave's entrance rapidly. A demon was snoozing at the cave's entrance, and he opened his eyes drowsily when he heard some sounds. Then, he saw a giant griffin descend from the sky rapidly. Before he could finish speaking, a giant paw already pressed onto his head, and squashed him straight into the ground. Sounds of hurried footsteps could be heard in the passageway, and Mag had already gone in with his sword drawn. Sounds of the melee weren't intense, as it was a one-sided slaughter. In that short period of time, Mag had already taken care of the dozens of demons in the passageway, and the alarm in the cave finally rang. Dying silently is too merciful for them, Irina said with a cold expression as she looked at the sealed passageway. Mag kept his long sword and stepped to a side. Irina walked forward gradually with a bench in her hand. Amy was following closely behind her, holding the magic caster's staff up high with both hands. "Boss, we've got enemies infiltrating the cave," a demon said as he barged into a cave suddenly in panic to a fell demon who had tied a naked elf to a wooden frame, holding a bloody whip in his hands. "Why are you panicking? This is our, fell demon's, territory. Who would dare to infiltrate it?" The other fell demon whipped the elf, and left a bloody mark on that fair body. His gaze became even more excited with her cry of pain. "But, all our brothers out there are dead. We've sealed the passageway, but the enemies could come in very soon," the previous demon continued frantically. They were employed by the fell demons, and such infiltrations had never happened before under their protection. "Useless idiots!" That fell demon tossed the whip to the ground before grasping the face of the elf on the wooden frame with a smirk. "Baby, I will come back to play with you shortly. I will have to send you all away in the next few days, so I don't get many chances like this." "Puh!" That elf spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva on that demon's face, and coldly told him, "Princess Irina will kill all of you sooner or later." "Irina? She can't even save herself, how is she going to kill others? Maybe I will even have a chance to tie her up here like you in the future and toy with her as I like." The fell demon wiped away the saliva on his face, and lifted his hand up with an increasingly ferocious expression. Boom! A loud bang sounded in the passageway, and glaring holy light lit up the dark underground cave. "Holy light, purify these dirty demons!" a cold voice sounded. Chapter 1373 Little Amy, you're such a clever imp. Meanwhile at the entrance, Irina in her white dress was purifying all the evil existences like a goddess descending upon earth. "Princess Irina! It's Princess Irina!" Some elves recognized Irina and exclaimed joyously. Surprise spread throughout the cave instantly as the elves approached the railings from all corners of the cave with gleaming hope in their eyes. Even the glaring holy light couldn't make them close their eyes. They had to put up with the daily torture and deal with the physical and mental stress in this dark underground cavern without any hope. They wanted to end their lives numerous times. But now, Princess Irina had appeared in the underground cavern and brought light into it, making their eyes brighten. It was just like a dream, so many elves pinched themselves instinctively. The distinct pain made them sure that this wasn't a dream. Cheers reverberated throughout the underground cavern. The elves felt avenged as they watched those demons struggle in the holy light. Letting them experience the pain that they had previously inflicted on them was the best form of revenge. "Irina!" The fell demon paled as he heard the cheers and screams outside and saw the holy light that brightened up the whole passageway. The demon next to him even collapsed to the ground right away. They had heard many legends about Irina. No demon had ever survived when Irina discovered their gangs, and most of them died in horrifying ways. "Princess Irina is finally here. All you a-holes are going to die." The elf who was tied to the wooden frame revealed a smile. "Damn it! This is our, fell demons, territory. Even though she is Irina, she can't do anything to me." The fell demon's voice was trembling, but he still grabbed the elf's hair, and dragged her toward the entrance of the cave. His calves were clearly trembling. "Irina, are you trying to be enemies with us, the fell demons?" The fell demon dragged the elf to the cave's entrance, and used her to shield his body. He looked at Irina, who was standing in the passageway with a flickering gaze, before taking a brief look at his subordinates, who were dissolving in the holy light. The fear in his eyes thickened. Irina saw the bloody elf who was used by the fell demon to shield himself, and her gaze turned cold instantly. "Princess, ignore me. Kill this evil-doing demon. He maimed many of our sisters." Tears fell from the eyes of that elf, but her voice was exceptionally firm. "Shut up." The fell demon clutched her neck, and looked at Irina with a hideous expression. "Irina, as long as you leave now, we fell demons will not seek trouble with you. If you insist on interfering in this, then we fell demons are not going to let you off. I have never intended to let you all go." Irina lifted her hand, and a beam of the holy light struck the demon in between his eyes, and slammed him against the wall behind him. He let go of the elf subconsciously. The holy light engulfed him, and began to burn violently like a fire. Arg! That fell demon let out scream after scream as he struggled in the holy light to no avail. His body was disintegrating in the holy light as if countless blunt knives were slicing through his skin. That pain also came from his spirit, as all those elves who were tortured to death by him had become ghouls and bit him relentlessly, but that pain was real. Irina appeared at the cave's entrance gracefully, and reached out to support that helpless elf who collapsed. Her white cape slid down and wrapped around her. At the same time, a green light landed on her body, and the injuries on her body recovered right in front of everyone's eyes. Her face was also no longer pale. So many elves are locked up here. So these baddies exist not only outside Chaos City, Amy murmured softly when she saw this scene. Yes. All these baddies should receive the worst punishment. Mag nodded as he looked at those badly mangled elves who were locked up in dungeons. Many of them were just children. One could even describe it as hell on earth. You're safe now, Irina said in a gentle voice as she helped that elven maiden up. That elf who was wrapped in the cape could feel her injuries disappear instantly, and felt a surge of energy. She was in a daze for a moment before gratefully thanking Irina. Thank you very much, Your Highness. I was late. Irina reached out to pat that maiden with teary eyes. The magic caster's staff appeared in her hands, and she raised it above her head. Beams of green light flew out of it, and entered the bodies of all the elves in the cave. Their injuries were healed instantaneously. The chains that were hanging on their bodies were broken, and so were the thick ones hanging on the doors. The elves who had been locked up for so long walked out of the underground cavern hesitantly. Smiles of freedom appeared on their faces before they burst into tears again. Thank you so much, Princess Irina. The elves came forward to express their appreciation to Irina. Mag brought Amy out of the cave by retreating through the passageway slowly. Father, why do we have to come out first? Amy asked Mag, a little puzzled. Because we may bump into them again in Chaos City. So, it's better not to let them see us now, Mag replied with a smile. Furthermore, we still have to go and find a ship to send them back to Chaos City. Ship? Is there a ship here? Amy looked around. There were only rocks here, and not even a piece of wood could be seen. There's a very big cave over there. Maybe they've hidden their ship there. Mag brought Amy to the cave located at the west of the cliff. He had already discovered that giant cave under the cliff when Ozzy circled the island around once. As expected, Mag discovered a big ship with the Fell Demon's emblem in that cave. But, why don't we let them take the flying restaurant back with us? Taking the ship is too slow, Amy said to Mag after she explored the ship. Yay, right. Mag was really stunned by the question. The space in the flying restaurant could be enlarged. Although 300 elves were quite a crowd, they would still have enough space to sit down. They could all be back at Chaos City tonight and save all trouble on the road. Little Amy, you're such a clever imp. Mag chuckled and patted Amy's head. However, he still had to get this ship out of the cave because he needed to transfer them away from this island. The Fell Demons would soon discover something was going on here. Chapter 1374 Bashir, you old dog, come out to die. Irina was holding an old ledger book in her hands with a cold expression. What's wrong? Mag asked when he saw the ledger in Irina's hands. He had already docked the ship at the shore. It's a ledger that recorded the sales of the elves they caught in the past 10 years. Irina passed that ledger to Mag. Mag flipped through the ledger quickly. It was filled densely with the number of the wandering elves caught, but they were called piglets instead. A large proportion of them died due to resistance and torture. Those elves that were successfully enslaved were sold everywhere to demons, orcs, and even people in the Roth Empire. And Bashir's name appeared very frequently. There were records of him buying elves from 10 years ago up till last month. They numbered over 100. What do you plan to do? Mag returned the ledger book to Irina. I want to kill someone, Irina said calmly, but there was a storm brewing under that calmness. Then let's start from Bashir tonight. Mag nodded. He could empathize with Irina's feelings, and also imagine the pain that those wandering elves who were sold to all places had endured. Bashir was on the very top of the list. All right. Irina nodded and her gaze became a little gentler. I've already got the ship ready. I'm afraid we can't bring them along with us to the Fear Islands, so I intend to let them go to Carapace Island first. We will meet up with them on our way back, Mag continued. Irina looked at that big ship on the sea before turning around to say to those elves, let's get on the ship. I'll bring you away from here. The elves quickly put their emotions under control, and boarded the ship orderly when they heard her. Although there weren't any powerhouses among the elves, some of them had 3rd tier to 4th tier power, so they could quickly remove the fell demon's emblem on the ship. The ship turned around rapidly and sailed southward to Carapace Island. The Griffin circled above the ship, sinking 2 ships that were tracking them and downing 7, 8 flying steeds. It only turned and flew to the Fear Islands after making sure that the ship had already left the fell demon's territory. Little Amy and you will watch from afar later. I will try to kill Bashir as soon as possible and bring those trapped elves out, Irina whispered at Mag's ear as she held onto his waist. Mag was touched. Irina obviously didn't want to put Amy and him in the path of danger. He shook his head and smiled. I'm afraid we can't do that this time. Little Amy and you will stay away first while I go do my test on the Fear Islands. Test? Irina asked doubtfully. My power is going to return to the 9th tier soon. However, because it's a recovery, it's different from normal advancement. It would trigger a heavenly test and I have to pass it, Mag explained with a smile. But you're still not Bashir's match even after you pass the test. Irina shook her head. Anyway, just watch me. With Ozzy present, I could still run even if I'm not his match, Mag replied casually. It was difficult to explain about the lightning strike. Irina looked at Mag, and eventually nodded after some pondering. Being the most powerful tribe of the demons, the Fear Demons occupied the 3 most fertile and spacious islands in the center of the Demon Islands. They had unparalleled power on the Demon Islands. A top Fear Demon Patriarch, more than 5 10th tier demons, and a powerful Fear Demon army. Their strength was already comparable to the Goblins' power 1. But Mag wasn't worried. According to the system's explanation, the stronger the external interference was during his test, the more powerful lightning strike test would be. If he could get the entire demon tribe embroiled in it, he, too, had no idea what would be the result, but he was sure that it was definitely the Fear Demons who would suffer. The island in the west of the Fear Islands had a great hall that was built with black skulls. A strapping demon sitting on the throne of bones was enjoying a massage from an elf. He lifted his hand, and an attendant came forward and knelt on one knee. That demon's face was twice as long as a normal person's face, and the upper part of the face was full of eyes. When all the red eyes blinked together, they gave out a scary aura. I heard there will be a new batch of goods with the fell demons tomorrow. Go and take a look for me. Buy me all the good-looking ones. A few of them died after I played with them in the past few days. I need to replenish the stock, Bashir said in a hoarse voice which was as scratchy to the ears as nails scratching the chalkboard. Yes, the attendant replied respectfully. Go now, I'm going to sleep. Today, Bashir's gaze swept across those elves with shifty gazes before he squeezed the chin of a petite elf, and said, You will serve me today. Fear flashed across that elf's eyes. She pursed her lips together and dared not make a sound. The other elves looked at her with pity. They, too, felt sad for her. The elves who were chosen never had a good ending. Countless among their sisters had died, and many more would be bought and then pushed into this endless abyss. The Fear Demons were the most powerful demon tribe. The Wind Forest had allowed their trade, so they wouldn't stand up for them and antagonize the Fear Demons. Bashir stood up, wrapped his arms around that petite elf, and prepared to leave. Bashir, you old dog, come out to die. Right at this moment, an arrogant and loud voice appeared in the sky, and reverberated throughout the 3 Fear Islands. Boom! A sound of thunder almost exploded next to everyone's ears together with the ground's vibration. No, the elves screamed, and some of them even fell to the ground. The demons in the hall were also staring at one another. Who was it that dared to come issue a challenge at the Fear Islands and launch an attack straight away? Bashir's expression turned cold. He released the hand of that petite elf and smirked. Ha! It's been years since we have people coming here to antagonize us. Boom! Boom! Another thunderbolt struck as soon as Bashir finished speaking. The vibration on the ground was getting more and more distinct. Some skulls that were hanging on the walls even fell and rolled on the ground. Bashir, you old dog! Are you a coward? Or are all of you fear demons cowards? That voice was getting more and more arrogant. Along with the thunder, it sounded just like someone was slapping Bashir across his face. Humph! Bashir snorted and walked toward the hall's entrance. He disappeared right at the door. The purple-striped griffin flew above the Fear Islands like a purple lightning bolt. It spat out purple lightning orbs continuously, and they smashed into the island's buildings down below. The lightning orbs exploded, causing loud bangs as they destroyed building after building. One annotation text missing. Chapter 1375 Fire at Me. People like him usually wouldn't survive till Chapter 2. Whoa! Father is so suave, Amy, who was standing afar with Irina, exclaimed with bright eyes. Irina looked at Mag, and said in a cold voice, Little Amy, if I need to go over there later, could you stay back here and don't go away? Can you remember it? Amy nodded obediently. What is he trying to do? Irina's gaze followed Mag closely with a perplexed expression. Her original plan was to sneak in, kill Bashir, and rescue all the elves before the fear demons could react. But now, Mag was attacking the fear demons so obviously and antagonizing them with words, which meant they had lost their opportunity to strike and hide. The purple-striped griffin's crazy bombing quickly caused chaos on the islands. As a powerful tribe that had remained the #1 demon tribe continuously after the racial war, the fear demons had not experienced being attacked at their doorstep for a very long time. Such a sudden and yet powerful attack plunged the complacent fear demons into chaos. Purple-striped griffin. It's Alex. Very soon, some fear demons recognized the griffin that was flying in the sky like a purple lightning and exclaimed. The rumors about Alex returning to his peak were already spreading widely. He had killed the spatial demon patriarch, Benson, which meant he had already returned to the echelons of the powerhouses. But why did he come to the Fear Islands and attack them? However, they were a powerful tribe after all. After a short period of chaos, powerhouses began to appear to stabilize the situation. Figures riding on flying steeds began to take to the air and face Mag. Alex, why are you attacking us fear demons for no rhyme nor reason? A fear demon with at least 30 eyes on his head and face shouted at Mag. All 4 fear demon powerhouses lined up and watched Mag nervously with wariness. That old coward burrows deep. Mag swept his gaze across the 4 fear demons. The one who spoke should be the fear demon's chief, and the other 3 were all 10th tier demons. Neither fear demon patriarch nor Bashir had shown themselves. Bashir imprisons and mutilates elves. I've come to kill him. Do you all have any objections? Mag said to the demons in a low voice. The mask on his face shielded his expression from them. You proclaim that you want to kill me on the Fear Islands, Alex. That's very bold of you. Bashir's voice appeared at the side. He was standing above the stone hall and looking up at Alex with a stern expression, but there wasn't much fear on his face. Moreover, who are you to interfere with the elves' affairs? How dare a chap who was abandoned by the Roth Empire come to the Fear Islands to make trouble? Bashir had an arrogant smile. Even though he was still a little fearful when he was facing Alex, he wasn't panicking. This was the Fear Islands, after all. They had 5 10th tier powerhouses, most importantly, the Patriarch was present too. Even if Alex returned to his peak form, he still wouldn't be to kill him under the Patriarch's nose. Mag furrowed his brows slightly. Bashir's words had their rationale too. It didn't make sense for him to seek justice here. However, when did a villain ever need a proper reason? The elves' affairs are my affairs. If I say I want to kill you, it simply means I want to kill you. Mag looked at Bashir and slowly withdrew his sword. The purple-striped griffin spread its wings, transformed into a purple lightning, and dashed toward Bashir. At the same time, it opened its mouth as a purple lightning orb converged in its mouth. Then, it spat it out suddenly. Watch out, Bashir! The fear demons didn't expect Alex would strike suddenly without any warning and observing no rules. They pursued the purple-striped griffin on their flying steeds, and attacked Mag from behind at the same time. Bashir paled at the same time too. Black fog suddenly rose up from his body, and a giant squid with 1,000 eyes extended its giant tentacles out from it. Blood-red vertical eyes almost covered its entire head, and they emitted beams of red light which formed an eerie domain. However, Bashir wasn't confident that he could withstand a strike from Alex. Although he was a 10th tier powerhouse too, he had only just advanced to the 10th tier in the last few years. If he wasn't a direct great-grandson of the Patriarch who had received countless resources, he would never have the chance to become a 10th tier powerhouse. Boom! The lightning orb exploded in the domain of red beams of light, and it collapsed instantaneously. Dozens of that 1,000-eye squid's tentacles were also blown off, and it retreated into the black fog. There was nothing in front of Bashir now, and he was completely exposed to Mag. A cold gleam appeared in the heavy long sword as that pair of eyes turned obscure and chillingly cold. Save me, Patriarch! Bashir screamed at the largest island in the center as he paled. He felt as if he was being stared at by death when Alex was staring down at him. Although the black fear domain behind him was still expanding, he wasn't confident that he could withstand this blow from Alex at all. All kinds of magic were chasing Alex, but given their speed, there was no way they could hit Alex before he killed Bashir. And nobody would suspect that Alex could kill Bashir with that single strike. After all, Benson and Borg had already died by his sword before this. Those were 10th tier powerhouses who had been more famous and powerful than Bashir. You have crossed the line, Alex. Right at this moment, a voice that seemed to come from an abyss sounded from the main island. A giant black hand that was consolidated by black fog suddenly reached out, trying to grab the purple-striped griffin. Simultaneously, an aura of fear approached him like a giant ancient beast had just opened its eyes. Darn it! Irina grasped her magic caster's staff, and a beam of light flashed underneath her feet as she prepared to dash over to help. System, where are your F***ing cannons? Fire at me! I wanna do my test now! Mag yelled in his heart. The sky suddenly changed color, and a giant purplish-red vortex appeared in the sky above the Fear Islands. Lightning that looked like giant dragons began to flash crazily in that vortex. Suddenly, 3 giant thunderbolts stuck down from the vortex and hit Alex, who was completely surrounded. Those magic attacks and that giant hand also reached him at the same time.